I shouldn't be alive. Unless it was for a reason. I'm not crazy, Pepper. I just finally know what I have to do. The truth is, I am Iron Man.
You have to take me back there.
What are you saying? You think you can control?
No, not control it, but I don't know, maybe aim it.
It's working. We're safe. America is secure. You want my property? You can't have it. But I did you a big favor. I have successfully privatized world peace.
This drink, I like it.
I know, it's great, right?
Another!
What was that?
It was delicious. I want another.
Well, you could have just said so.
I just did.
What made to you so special?
Nothing. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
What have I to fear?
The Avengers. That's what we call ourselves. Sort of like a team. Earth's mightiest heroes type thing.
I have an army.
We have a Hulk. Because if we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn well sure we'll avenge it. Nothing's been the same since New York. You experience things. And then they're over and you still can't explain them. Gods, aliens, other dimensions. I'm just a man in a can.
You must be truly desperate to come to me for help.
You betray me, and I will kill you.
When do we start?
I, for one, am not going to stand by and watch as Ronan wipes out billions of innocent lives.
We're all standing up now. Bunch of jackasses standing in a circle.
Hi, I'm Scott.
Did he just say, hi, I'm Scott?
What are you doing here? First off, I'm a big fan. Appreciate it. So who the hell are you? I'm Ant-Man. Ant-Man? What, you haven't heard of me? No, you wouldn't have heard of me.
I'm glad you asked that, because I wanted to take this time to explain my evil plan.
Doesn't matter what you did, what you were.
If you go out there, you fight, and you fight to kill. Stay in here, you're good. I'll send your brother to come find you, but if you step out that door, you are an Avenger. Because I'm with you to the end of the line.
Well, hello, everyone out there in podcast land, and welcome back to the Front Row Movie Reviews podcast, the podcast for people who actually like movies. And this is a very special episode. We are kicking off our ramp-up to Captain America Civil War, the start of Phase 3. And so we thought we would take a little podcast time here to go and rank all 12 of the MCU films so far. That's right, it's ambitious, but hey, you know, that's what we do. I'm Jeremy Geckner, the editor-in-chief over here. Who's at the table? Let's go around real quick. Let's start over here.
Hi, it's Scott. It's not as ambitious as if you would have done all of the Marvel movies, which is what I wanted you to do.
Yes.
Howard the Duck is not involved in this ranking.
There's literally
I mean, technically, Howard the Duck was in one of the movies that's going to be in this ranking.
Dude, there's literally like 80 Marvel movies, man. Like based off Marvel characters.
No, there are 47. I looked it up.
Only 47.
We could have done this.
Only 47. That's Scott. Who else is at the table?
Allison Means.
Allison Means Business. That's right.
Yeah.
I love that.
I always thought that should be like the motto.
All the time.
Nice. I've never heard it.
Yeah.
You know, though,
in the old Muni chats, I was She Means Business.
Oh man, sometimes I can't hear through the feminism.
Oh gosh,
I'm kidding. Actually, I'm kidding. I'm just giving her a hard time.
Somebody's got to represent that 50% of the population.
Actually, it's like 52%.
Right, there's more of us than you.
You're actually a majority minority, which is weird.
I know.
You don't even have an MCU film yet. No female MCU characters yet, man.
Started.
Like the solo films.
Yeah.
Soon to be remedied.
I have a lot of feelings.
I have a lot of feelings.
We will get there. Also at the table,
Kevin, I have no idea where I'm at right now. Call of it. But to sidetrack on what Scott said, that's what when you guys said you were doing this, I'm like, I definitely have not seen all 47 Marvel movies, so I was really confused. And so I was just like, on this ranking, do we want... I can't do all of them. That was impossible. But when you guys narrowed it down just the MCU, I was like, and then you guys enlightened me on what the MCU was.
Yeah.
And so I've learned a lot in this last
Kevin
week.
didn't know, like, the separations with the X-Men and with Spider-Man formerly, but of course he's back now. But he of course is going to add the common moviegoer's opinion here, not the comic book fanboy movie opinion.
Kevin is literally wearing blues, hoodie, and pajama pants.
That's
right.
And everyone else is
representing the comic shirts.
Right.
In my defense, it was a late night.
It was. I was watching that game. We did lose, unfortunately.
So, anyway,
it's all right. We'll bounce back. But yeah, I'm wearing this Deadpool shirt. Scott's rocking the Captain America.
All I know is the Cubs are the best.
Allison's rocking the Marvel Heroes. Craig, what are you rocking today?
Team Rogers.
Nice.
Civil War 2016.
So yeah, Kevin's our resident normal.
Yes. The resident normal person. Anyway, this is a big podcast for us because this is like the first time we're out here live on location somewhere. Not doing guerrilla style at Buffalo Wild Wings where nobody knows what we're doing.
Where no one can hear us later.
No, yeah. Where you can't hear us at all. Craig, why don't you tell everyone where we're at?
Absolutely. So we are sitting here inside Killen's Comics on Wabash in Springfield. Definitely come by and check this place out. I mean, it's got so much more than just comics. You've got a ton of different toys. You'll probably feel nostalgia immediately when you walk in this place.
I'm literally going to buy half this store. I can feel
it. You've got games, you've got DVDs, you've got Blu-rays. Definitely check out Killen's. They're one of those awesome local businesses, and that's who you want to support. So make sure you check them out. Also, we're kind of promoting for them Free Comic Book Day is the next Saturday. So this will probably drop sometime this weekend. So the weekend that Civil War comes out will be Free Comic Book Day, and we're actually looking at the Civil War II Free Comic Book Day, and then also the Steve Rogers Captain America for all you comic book fans. Steve Rogers has not been Captain America for just a little bit here, so pretty incredible stuff.
He's got a new shield.
He does have a new shield. I love it how once we talk about Free Comic Book Day, and then like Scott and Allison start modeling the comic books like everyone can see them.
We're just Vanna Whiting over here.
Because, as we said, we are the quintessential visual podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So
if
you're in the Springfield area, definitely stop by Killen's Comics.
And
Illinois.
Springfield, Illinois.
Yes. Springfield, every state.
Right, fair enough. But come check out this comic book shop. Definitely on Free Comic Book Day. But then while you're here for Free Comic Book Day, also buy comics.
Yes. I'm buying my first comic today. I am buying my very first comic book today.
Great collection of trades as well too. I saw Death of Superman over there. I'm going to buy it and send it to Zack Snyder because he hasn't read it yet. I think that's going to be great.
Still with the BVS hate, man. Still.
That's crazy.
We're on to the MCU where things are actually happy.
But the other thing I want to do is talk about the amount of podcasts that really helped us collaborate with this.
Yes.
So let's run down the list. This is kind of a collaboration of actually 5 different podcasts. So we of course got, if you want to go check out Ray Lytle's Morning Disaster, he just posted his ranking as a separate show.
Yeah,
so
really
Ray.
cool.
Basically like a half-hour commercial for our podcast. It was
yeah, it was really nice.
So thank you, Ray. We really appreciate it. Also, we've got the guys from Lincoln's Legends. We've got Bailey's scores intermixed in here, so he's been part of this. Bailey, of course, has helped us out so much throughout the last year getting this thing off the ground. We also have Ryan Tate from the Neat Right Network. Yep. He has submitted a lot of scores. He actually went on his Facebook page and put in not just all 47 Marvel movies, but every comic book movie ever made.
He did what Scott wanted to do.
By the way, Constantine is nowhere near #1 of anything.
Oh, come on. That's a good one, man.
I enjoy Constantine.
Whoa, demons. No, but he's right. There's so many podcasts.
And we've got, one more, After the Hype, which is my buddy out in California. They actually just did kind of their Civil War rundown last week. It went great. So
I didn't listen.
Did
they actually see it already? And there was a review?
Talking about their hype.
Okay,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they
before the hype.
They really went into the comic series from 2006. So if you haven't read that comic series, it will be kind of spoilery for it, but go check that out because it'll give you a good primer. Now, granted, the movie's probably going to be nothing like the comics, but it's good to know that.
I do have a nerd moment. They say that Hulkbuster and Hulk fought in Brazil in the movie Age of Ultron. It was actually Wakanda.
Wakanda.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, After the Hype. I did listen, though.
Nice. So those guys submitted their scores as well. Now we also just hot off the presses got some vinyl stickers made. So if you want one,
looking at them now.
Shoot us a message
Again
and we'll get
modeling.
you one sent
Again
out.
with the modeling. Can't you see everyone out there in podcast land?
Absolutely.
No, they're very, very cool. They're going to be actually. I think Killen's here is going to be giving some of those away, right? So like they're here at the comedy store.
So
Yeah.
No.
No, but I also want to call out a few individuals who also sent in some scores. Let's see here. Dan Denny, one of our listeners, I think he's about to start doing a podcast of his own. If I'm not correct, we'll plug that when it's there. And somebody who's here listening to us, Aaron Hawkins. Look at that.
Not Andrew Hawkins.
Not Andrew Hawkins.
Aaron Hawkins. Get it right, Jeremy.
For all of you who heard the last episode of Front Row News.
We're forever sorry.
Yes, but he is here. He sent in some really, really
Jeremy's
great ones.
forever sorry.
Nathan Pierce, that's after the hype, right?
No, Nathan Pierce is
Nathan
actually
Pierce.
from the Springfield area, moved down to Edwardsville. He's
Right. So
really
he was
into Marvel movies.
He was an individual there, and then of course Ray Lytle, of course, as you said, from the Morning Disaster. But we mentioned those names because if you didn't hear from the previous episodes, this is how this is going to work. We took all 12 MCU films. We had people grade them from 0 to 100, all 12 films, so that we could get like an accurate rating of what like the general public thinks about these movies, not just the comic book fanboys. And so what we did, we added all of those scores together, and then we separated them out. We divided them by how many people turned them in, and that's what got us our final score, and of course the high score wins. So that is how this is going to be working. We're going to be going from 12 to 1, all these movies, and eventually we'll get to what everyone thinks is the number one Marvel movie of all time before we kick into Phase 3 with Captain America Civil War. In literally just like 5 days?
Yeah,
5 days we'll be watching Captain America Civil War.
Which hopefully will become the best Marvel.
If you believe in the people who've seen it already, a lot of people think that. So that is the rundown. That is how we're going to be doing this. Is everyone ready to rank the MCU?
No, but let's do it anyway.
All right.
Number one.
I saw some of these scores online, and for instance, I put a movie first that somebody put second to last. I mean, it's nuts.
It's going to be. There's a lot of stuff. There's going to be a lot of interesting things here, and I think we're going to shout out when our number one comes up there, or if something's way lower than we ranked it.
Oh, don't worry, there'll be a lot of shouting.
That's what Scott's here for.
You got the masters, but
we
of course,
have a resident normal and a resident shouter.
And a resident,
not normal.
Scott, get off my lawn, McFarlane.
Bend your hat, Brent.
Bend your hat, Brent. All right, so we actually have some audio drops here that are going to tell us what each of these films are and where they're ranked.
Production value.
Production value. We're getting there. All right, so my lovely wife Sarah has graciously recorded these ranks for us. So, is everyone ready to hear what number 12 is on the MCU rankings?
Yep. Be angry on that.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, come on now,
No,
man.
it's not Iron Man 3. You all suck.
Gosh.
It should be.
It should be.
We're
Iron
going
Man
to see
3.
here.
I didn't see.
All right, I'm going to actually just do it from the computer here. But
That's the
Should
two
be,
that I haven't
Iron
seen.
Man
That's
2.
pretty much how I feel.
all right, just 1 second. Technical difficulties. Here we go. All right.
Production value.
Production value.
Live recording.
All right, here we go, everyone. This is number 12 in the MCU rankings.
Number 12, Iron Man 2.
Iron Man 2.
Sarah said that too.
Oh,
Section. Number 12.
Iron Man 2.
Obviously, I started on the right foot because this movie. I mean, I got to say, none of these movies are necessarily bad.
No.
But this movie was just not good. So.
What a distinction. This is the great critical analysis you come to the front row for.
No, I mean, obviously Jon Favreau started us all off, and we're going to talk about Iron Man later, but this isn't a follow-up.
Not right now, we won't.
They tried to do too much with this movie. They tried to make it a bridge movie. I did like a couple of pieces of it. I did like the introduction of both Rhodey and also of Black Widow. I loved both of their introductions to this universe. But outside of that, I mean, they had just went and grabbed. Oh my goodness! I'm forgetting his name.
Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he died in the wrestler, and then he came right over to.
Sorry if you haven't seen The Wrestler.
He came right over to Iron Man,
and
he was kind of unintelligible throughout the movie. I didn't particularly
It was not
care.
a good
Well,
performance.
and if I remember correctly, I won't my bird. If I remember correctly, he and Favreau kind of butted heads a lot on his character, or somebody.
Favreau and Marvel butted heads in that movie too.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people rank this one last. Just looking at me, actually, I I did not rank it last. I had it at 80.
It was not my last either.
But Scott, I think you had this as your last ranked film.
Not.
No, you did not.
No, I did not.
You had this as, I think, your second to last, right?
Third. It was my second to last.
Allison's second to last. Why was it your last film?
Here's the deal. The difference between Iron Man 3 and Iron Man 2, which are both really not that good, is Iron Man 2, as Craig already mentioned, shows off War Machine for the first time with Rhodey.
Okay.
And also brings us Black Widow, who is, even in the first movie she's in, is an amazing character. I love the lucha libre fighting style she has at the beginning.
True.
And also the end fight with the drones, not so much Whiplash, I agree Whiplash was kind of a waste, but with the drones and with War Machine and with Iron Man, without a doubt is a better end fight than what you have with James Bond, Tony Stark, and trying not to have his armor through the movie.
We're
because
not talking
I don't
about
know.
Iron Man 3 right now.
I'm saying why Iron Man 2 is not the worst.
Oh, okay.
He just really wants to get to Iron Man 3. I really hope that this is like... Oh, but I should have mentioned this. None of us know what these ranks are yet.
No.
So, like, we've deliberately done that. I really hope Iron Man 3 is just way up the list just to tick you off.
I can't imagine that.
I need to see the Scott anti-Iron Man 3 rant when it's like number 8 or something.
Iron Man 2 was Avengers 0.5, and you got what you got with Avengers 0.5.
I mean, like, and I kind of liked it, honestly. It's just like, that's where we get Cap's shield for the first time. It's where Clark Gregg kind of gets a lot more stuff as Agent Coulson.
Which is why it should not be ranked number 2.
Yeah, and plus it does give us the introduction of War Machine, which is pretty awesome in my mind. Like, and I think that he's going to play a big part in the rest of the MCU.
Well, and we got to remember that this was like the Don Cheadle War Machine. This wasn't the Terrence Howard War Machine, because Terrence Howard, I mean, it seemed like he made the wrong decision by walking away from Marvel, and then he made Empire. So the guy's doing all right.
He's doing okay.
Yeah. It took him a couple of years to get Empire, though. But I also, when they bring Don Cheadle in, I just love that line. It's me. I'm here. Just move on.
Yeah, I know. It's not so simple. Yeah. It's like, hey, what are you doing here? It's me. Get on it. Like, I love that. Kev, what do you think about
Well,
that?
I mean, this was number 10 on mine, and because you do... Some of the better parts were the introduction of Black Widow. However, I got nothing from the introduction of Black Widow. We do not get to really know her in any depth, so to me it was in a way kind of pointless. And when they're trying to start bringing them the other Avengers in, so it was on number 10 for me, which was my lowest ranked Iron Man. But like we were talking about, they aren't bad movies, just not the best.
And forgettable.
I think it's fun to
it was forgettable. And Mickey Rourke was not. I did not like him at all in the movie. It's not that his character. Well,
by the way, here's a fun little thing that I noticed about this too. Like the scene where Justin Hammer takes away his shoes and everything. Like they show a shot of his feet. Mickey Rourke has like the ugliest feet I've ever seen in my life. Like seriously, it's like I can't even describe it.
About his feet.
I look at this face and all this stuff. And it's like, how is this guy like a heartthrob person in the '80s and stuff? Like I do not get it at all.
I mean, they probably weren't looking at his feet then.
You know what happened between the '80s and now? Lots of drugs.
Lots of drugs.
That's what happened.
You saw that in The Wrestler.
Yes, you did.
But if nothing else, we can all agree that this did actually build a lot of the universe. Maybe we had to get the evil, quote unquote, of this movie of just universe building so that we don't have to do it in all these other films that we're about to see.
I just yelled at Scott for comparing it to another movie, but it's Ultron's problem. It's the trying to get too much into one movie just to transition into the next movie. That's what this movie.
That's true.
You're right. It's Batman versus Superman.
Oh God. We're on Marvel.
Someday we'll be done with BVS.
Oh,
maybe once Suicide Squad comes
ever
out.
going to be done with it.
All right, well, let's move on to...
I know what I'm getting him for Christmas. How about that?
Blu-ray. Extended 4-hour cut.
That's right.
Yes. All right, let's move on to number 11. Here is number 11 in the MCU rankings.
Number 11. The Incredible Hulk.
I hate you.
Oh yes! Spot on with this
Scott
one.
is about to
Scott's
lose
walking
it.
out.
He's throwing chairs everywhere.
Matched mine perfectly.
The Incredible
Actually, it did
Hulk.
match mine.
I had it as number 11.
Yeah. Come on, man.
It was my lowest of mine.
I agree with Scott. I take gumption with this because I think this is actually a sneakily great origin story that and it's not even an origin story. Like it just assumes you know it. It does the entire beginning of the Hulk in a credit sequence, which they should have done. And honestly, it's like Norton was good. I thought he was good.
He was okay.
He's not as good as Ruffalo, but still,
I guess I ranked it lower because it doesn't feed into the overall universe now that Ruffalo is the Hulk.
Scott, that makes sense. Come on.
I guess it's still out there.
Abomination
somewhere,
is still in the MCU somewhere.
But you mentioned Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a couple times.
I just didn't really care for his for Norton's acting in this. I gotta say, I didn't particularly care for his Bruce Banner. I guess mainly because I love Mark Ruffalo so much that it's hard for me to go back, watch this movie, and enjoy this rendition of the Hulk.
Okay. Here's why.
Buckle up, kids. Buckle up.
Incredible Hulk is a very important movie to me because it is very much an homage to the TV show, which none of you kids were around for it, so bite me.
But we watched that a lot as kids.
We did.
You have your love affair with Bill Bixby. It's all right.
Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno, which, by the way, Lou Ferrigno was in this movie.
Yes, he was.
But,
that was a cool
and
cameo.
Bill Bixby was in this movie, too.
Yeah.
They showed a scene from The Magician, his other TV show.
That's right.
Yes, but no, I think this movie is the dawn of the MCU. Iron Man starts at the very end of the credits when Sam Jackson shows up, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Yes.
But with this, you have the first discussion of Super Soldier Serum.
Yeah, the Super Soldier Serum there.
You have Iron Man showing up, okay?
Which, some people would say that's kind of something shoehorned in there.
Well, and actually, Iron Man was so big of a hit that they weren't expecting that they showed that scene of Tony Stark in the trailer.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I was like, what are you doing? Well, was that the actual only end credit scene for this movie?
Yes.
And it's like...
And it wasn't an end credit scene.
It wasn't an end credit scene. It was like as a tag on in the movie.
Yeah, this is one that doesn't have an end credits, but... The main reason why this movie should be ranked higher is because in the soundtrack it has ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da,
sad Hulk music.
Gotta love
Scott singing on the podcast.
We always end up singing on this podcast.
It's called The Lonely Man. Look it up.
Yes, it is. I almost put it as the theme on here.
It was, I mean, again, it's not a bad movie. It's just I didn't particularly. I think when you go back and watch all of these as a collection of movies, it's hard. And I get your points about introducing certain elements, but it just doesn't seem to fit. A lot of people forget that this was even part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe because it does seem so set aside. Obviously, the tag of creating the Avengers Initiative, big deal, but
well, and plus, don't forget, like this, the first time we are actually getting a connection to this film is in Civil War when Thunderbolt Ross comes back.
And I think when we after we watch Civil War, I think Hulk is going to become a more important movie to the MCU because of Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah, so...
And I think that's going to become more entangled into what we're talking about. At least I hope so.
It wouldn't hurt so good.
To date, though, to date, it does feel like an outlier.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, it was
at least an angry Hulk and Hulk poodles.
I absolutely agree.
Ang Lee,
this is much better than Ang Lee. poor Eric Bana out there.
Poor Eric Bana.
Well, for me, it was like a been there, done that kind of movie. I mean, we have. It's like with Spider-Man. We've seen that stuff over and over between the two series of movies we've had, but it just felt like another been there, done that movie. And I've never been an overly huge fan of Norton anyway. So
well, and this is a lot of people point out that kind of the problem with the Hulk is he's better with a team, like they say in the movies. He's better when he's playing off of people and stuff like that. I guess agree with that, but I'd still like to see Planet Hulk or something like that.
Until Universal says so, you're not going to.
Yeah, exactly. But Hulk is routinely one of the best parts of the Avengers films, and I'm sure he's going to be in Thor Ragnarok as well. So
I just feel like we really have to attribute a lot of that to Ruffalo.
Oh yeah,
because he's just so great.
I think what Norton started, Ruffalo perfected personally, and don't forget Norton actually kind of co-wrote this film. He didn't get a writing credit on it, but they say he changed the script quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, and the reason why for the change, mainly because Norton's attitude, he's hard to work with.
Yeah,
that's the report.
Which that's the rap on him sometimes.
That's one of the reasons why Marvel didn't give him the Avengers, but also he wanted more money. But still, one of the main things that supposedly Norton added were the banner scenes.
Yeah.
And those scenes, like Edward Norton or not, are very good banner scenes.
Yeah, and I loved the stuff at the beginning of this film in whatever country he's in.
Oh, that's straight out of the TV show.
So great, the chase sequences, everything. And plus, let's not forget, Tim Roth was a great Emil Blonsky in this film.
And I hope he comes back sometime.
I do too. I don't know if they, get him, since I guess Abomination is how he stays.
Yeah, you can CGI.
Yeah, you can CGI, man. All right. Let's move on to number 10. Here's number 10 in our MCU rankings.
See if I'm perfect.
Number 10, Thor: The Dark World.
Thor: The Dark World. Oh, okay. Well, not a real surprise there. But,
are you sure she didn't just take my list?
Oh, come on. This is you again?
This is me again.
Oh, God. This might be the start of a disturbing trend. Look, I actually rated this movie, let's see, Yeah, I think this was probably my lowest one. It was.
Mine too.
I had it I gave it a 78. Like, I don't think it's a bad movie at all, but I think they just wasted their villain, because actually Malekith has some really cool stuff he does in the Thor comic book arcs, and he can be a great thing, and they got a great actor, Christopher Eccleston, to play him, but like, it's just kind of like, okay, he shows up, he looks creepy, he says something in, I don't know, Elven or whatever their language is, and like, and then he's gone. Like, spoilers, I guess, but like, see you bye. So like, I don't know. Like, I think it was just a wasted opportunity. I did love how they built the relationship between Loki and Thor even more in this movie. I think Tom Hiddleston even more like cemented his place as just as probably as prominent as Thor in the MCU in this. So yeah, I mean, I guess 10 seems about right for it.
I had it as number 11. And you guys all know what my number 12 is. We haven't gotten there yet. You're all crazy. But,
Guardians of the Galaxy?
I think yeah, exactly. No. Dark World's just forgettable. I mean, the only thing that makes Dark World any good is Loki, and he's only in for about 20 minutes.
Well, and we do get a
Natalie
pretty
Portman's
prominent death in this movie as well.
Natalie Portman was asleep during this movie.
But that's fine.
She's like, I'm here because of contractual obligations.
It's pretty telling that she's not going to be in Thor Ragnarok either.
She was pretty asleep during the first one.
True.
I don't care.
And now she's Thor in the comic books, good old Jane Foster.
Oh, good old Jane Foster.
Lady Thor.
Lady Thor. Well, we do get a pretty prominent death in this movie, too, in, Thor's mom, Renee Russo.
Yeah. She like Uncle Ben, she stayed dead.
Yeah, but like even that though, you're right.
far.
Like it felt like it was just there to like further along a narrative. It didn't feel like we got enough time to actually care about it, So anyway, okay, we're not going to spend too much time.
But
on
that was a beautiful. Her funeral was a
that
very
was a great,
beautifully
like,
shot.
really well shot scene with the lights going up.
See the whole movie just taking place on Asgard and be able to see that kind of different realms and everything else. That was cool. Outside of that, though, it's just forgettable. I would agree with Scott. It's a forgettable movie.
Yeah, definitely. All right, moving on.
Sounds great.
Right.
Sure.
Let's hit up number 9 in the MCU rankings.
Number 9, Iron Man 3.
And Scott's finally got it.
And my ranking gets busted.
Oh, the perfect bracket is
had
gone.
Iron Man 3 higher?
Let me tell you why I have Iron Man 3 higher. So, what I loved about Iron Man 3 is it took a real-life issue of post-traumatic stress disorder, and it brought it full circle. It put it right front and center in this Marvel universe. So, Tony Stark just, had to fly out to space to stop the alien invasion.
Had to fly to the other side of the
Probably
universe.
give you PTSD. Yes.
This was right after the Avengers movie. I believe it was the first movie to come out right after
right after the Avengers.
Beginning of Phase 2, and it was just cool to see how they incorporated that. Did they have some shortcomings? Did they ruin the Mandarin and then go back in and try to fix him in a one-shot on like a DVD commentary? Absolutely. I get that. But at the same time, I liked that it took a real-life issue, especially right then and there when all these soldiers were coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and put it front and center and tried to do a little bit of explaining as well as just giving an entertaining movie. So I did enjoy that.
All right, Scott, why is this your last ranked film?
This is the worst film of the MCU, and here's a couple reasons why.
Obviously not.
Clearly, people.
I'm all that matters. Your opinions do not matter.
Oh.
All right, continue.
Wow.
Okay, a couple things. Craig already hit on one: the ruining of the Mandarin, and actually. Ben Kingsley was making a good Mandarin because they didn't make him stereotypical. They didn't make him the Asian, racial stereotype. He was playing this creepy terrorist, and it made sense. And then they just threw it out the window. Basically, this movie failed to pull... It pulled punches quite a bit. You pulled a punch with the Mandarin because you didn't want to do it, but you had to throw him in there. Let's not forget Pepper Potts being a superhero now, which is okay.
Ooh,
but
I kind of forgot about that.
God, she dies but comes back as Jesus Fire Chick. I don't.
Jesus Fire Chick.
Hashtag Jesus Fire Chick.
And the ultimate thing, Craig, I agree with you. The PTSD and the Tony Stark arc was good if they would have followed through with it. Because even at the end of the movie, it's like he's not Iron Man anymore. He's Tony Stark trying to figure stuff out. He's making, little gadgets to knock people out and stuff. But then at the very end, when he tosses everything away and says, I'm done, he doesn't say, I'm Tony Stark. He says, I'm Iron Man. That's not a character arc. That's getting back to Phase 1 so we can get back into Avengers 2.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take up the defense of this film a little bit because I do not think they ruined the Mandarin. I don't, because you're right. What they did with him in the film was nice and creepy. It was, like, okay, this looks like a pretty formidable opponent. Of course, like, the blowing up of the Chinese theater with Happy Hogan in it, like, that was really good, I thought.
And then they threw it out the window.
And then, but, like, when you see it with the one-shot, and I realize, like, it kind of sucks that you have to see it with the one-shot, All Hail the King, but, like, when you see it there, it makes the Mandarin that's out there in the MCU even scarier to me. Like, that it's, like, something else of this guy. Plus, I don't care, like, Ben Kingsley, when he turns to Trevor Slattery, is hilarious in this. He is freaking hilarious when he makes that turn. But see, that whole scene where he's just like, oh, no, they gave me drugs, Like, it's kind of like a mock Jack Sparrow. I love it. Like, it's hilarious.
And I'm not going to count the one shot because that's not Iron Man 3. That's a different thing. But the other thing, too, is we haven't even mentioned the big bad. Because the big bad was terrible.
Oh, good old Aldrich Killian.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. When you're talking about a movie like this and we just kind of blow over the main villain because the main villain was a joke.
Well, and I'll give you that because, like, it seemed like they wanted to do the Demon in the Bottle arc and the Extremis arc and something with the Mandarin in this film. Yeah. So I'll give you that. But, like, if they would have, like, I did love how they brought Tony down to, like, okay, let's show just how ingenuitous this guy is again.
That was good.
Like, I didn't mind the whole he's out of the suit for the whole time. I honestly didn't, because that's probably one of the best parts of the first Iron Man is how he builds the suit, showing how smart and how, like, and ingenuous he is. And I really like that. I like the stuff with the kid, too. I thought that was a really good interaction that he had.
Yeah, that kid did a great job acting it, too.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. This isn't a movie that I was, like, number one. I put this right in the middle of the pack, right at number 6, or 7, actually, so... Yeah. It's not like I'm saying that this is the best movie by any means. I do wish that they wouldn't have just made 25,000 disposable suits.
Blows up his whole armory. That's just
You didn't like Igor's suit when he's looking for that?
Well, I actually kind of like that last battle because we do get to see a little bit more of Don Cheadle in action in this too as War Machine. So
no, he wasn't War Machine.
Iron Patriot.
He was. We need to sell another action figure. Iron Patriot.
I am Iron Patriot.
He's a new paint job.
I thought you guys almost said Iron Pastry, and I was like,
"Where's superhero ever?"
That's like in Deadpool. I don't know.
Oh my God, Kevin! Now, what do you guys think of Iron Man 3?
Well, I agree with everything Craig said about it, and
thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I mean, and I remember reading that the big thing was the whole changing up of the Mandarin, and me coming from where I do, I don't know of any changes of what it was supposed to be versus what it not. So that didn't affect my my thought process on it. I had this one at number 8. So it's right.
Yeah,
I'm pretty close.
In that range.
Yeah.
And Allison didn't see it.
I didn't see it.
And we all are better off for it.
I don't know. I just think I think the script writing by Shane Black is really good. I think that seeing Robert Downey Jr. in this part for a third time. But you're right. Like the big thing about it, you're right. Like Killian, Guy Pearce, like he's a fantastic actor, but. Yeah, pretty forgettable in this.
If you're going to do it, make him MODOK and call it a day.
Oh,
just go
man,
for it.
one can
Have
only
Killian
hope.
thrown around in the head.
No, I kind of want to see Peter Dinklage as MODOK. I think that'd be really fun.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
And Kevin's gone again.
I guarantee there's a MODOK action figure somewhere.
Somewhere in here.
You can just find some kind of comic book
but
art
even
here.
as a normal who doesn't know comic books.
A normal.
He's a normal.
He is not one of us.
I mean, Peter Dinklage is amazing. So
yeah. All right, so let's move on to number 8, shall we? Number 8 in the MCU rankings.
Number 8, Thor.
All right, the first Thor.
Yeah,
Here we
goes
go.
back into my list. Okay.
There we go, number 8. This is one, I actually ranked this pretty high.
Why?
Okay, no, explain yourself now.
He doesn't like Viking Jesus, or you don't like Viking Jesus.
Listen,
What's with the Jesus reference? Is this DC?
Stop making the stories about somebody dying and coming back as a superhero. We'll stop making Jesus references.
Allison, why do you not like Thor?
Okay, I just felt like it jumped. It tried to make me believe in character relationships that went from 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds.
I can see that.
True love.
True love.
Did you see his pecs?
That's the only reason I went to this movie.
All right, to be fair, Allison, not to call you and I out, but we're kind of Disney files.
That's true.
And, I mean, that's basically our childhood is, oh, hey, I just met you. I'm going to marry you.
No, I agree.
So
but
call me
now I'm
maybe.
an adult.
Call me maybe.
Oh, yes.
Until Frozen turned that on its head.
There you go.
There you go.
But
We gotta
no.
talk Disney sometime.
Oh, we definitely need to do a separate Disney. I just turned around and there was a plush
cat thing.
creature with giant eyes in my
Like a
face.
meerkat.
Ah! Okay.
So is
Is
it
that a
just
Jabba
Thor?
the Hutt?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Focus,
it
Craig.
is.
Pop?
Focus. Focus.
This is like an
Excellent,
ADD nightmare in here.
Okay, so besides just the Thor Jane Foster
That
relationship,
was my biggest issue with it, honestly. I did not give this a terrible, terrible score, but it was like towards the bottom.
Would you
for
say
me.
you're rather Thor on it?
I feel unclean. I'll give you that. Like, I never really bought Natalie Portman
No.
as an MCU character. I really didn't.
She didn't either. Again,
Well,
contractual
exactly.
obligation.
That's like I was saying.
I
She was
personally loved her.
really sleepwalking through
She's
this
on my list.
wall.
Kevin likes Natalie Portman, not
The world
necessarily
will
Jane
know about
Foster.
all our lists.
Yeah.
I'm pro Natalie Portman.
There you go. What, as Jane Foster?
No, just in general.
Natalie Portman. Not as Jane. She's just like.
Couple positive things. This was actually number 9 on my list, so it's pretty darn close. We're getting to the good stuff now.
Yeah.
But I really like the Asgard. Kenneth Braga is a wonderful director.
This was
When
like
it
so
just
perfect for
swoops
him,
in,
man.
And you're on the asteroid and you're swooping about.
All of his side angles too. Like, oh, it's so great how he shot this film.
And Indian with Foo Fighters, positive.
Yes,
very,
yes,
very
there you
positive.
go.
So yeah, I like it.
And honestly, like,
I
this
want
is-
that Thanos mug. I agree with you. That is a cool mug.
There's
So is it your birthday? Is it his?
There's a birthday party happening.
okay.
Well, then we
There's
don't
a
want to talk
birthday party.
FYI, podcast land.
Oh, okay.
We're sharing our space today.
We gotta give some birthday
Happy
credit.
birthday
Other
to
positive
what's his
things.
name? Happy
Quinn.
birthday, Quinn.
Yes, happy birthday, Quinn. You're on the podcast too now. Other couple positive things. There was a big search for Thor in this, and obviously Chris Hemsworth was the right choice. Love everything that he does. Honestly, he doesn't get enough.
Allison's list.
He's on everyone's
He's
list.
on everyone's list. I don't think he gets enough to do as Thor in his own movies. Sometimes he's overshadowed by Tom Hiddleston as Loki, but talk about that. Introduction of Tom Hiddleston as Loki,
yeah.
He's
who I think
phenomenal.
is personally the best villain
Best
in the
part
MCU so
of
far.
the movie.
Trailed closely by David Tennant's Purple Man and Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
And Kingpin.
And
yes.
Hugo Weaving is the Red Skull.
Oh, the Red
We'll
Skull.
talk
We'll talk about
that
him later.
Yes.
I totally agree with that. But the thing I love about this movie, a scene that sticks out in my mind, maybe because I drink too much, but the Boilermaker.
The
scene,
Boilermakers, yes.
If you've ever actually tried that, so we all were like, oh, let's be like Thor, and we decided to try it at a bar, and all of us got wrecked. Shot of whiskey inside like a double pitcher of beer.
Yeah. Do you remember
is that what it is?
Do you remember what happens after they drink that and he's carrying him back into the trailer? You remember what Thor says? He was like, "We drank, we fought. He did his father's proud."
That was a
But
funny
you know,
scene.
Allison just said my favorite line when he's in the diner
He
and
throws
he's just like, "This drink, I like it. Smash another."
I love it. Yeah, no, I don't hate this movie. I
Okay.
just think that the character relationships that we're supposed to believe are very, very weak.
I'll give you that.
Another couple good things about this is we get a really good look at S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
And we get Hawkeye for the first time.
Yeah, this is the first appearance of Hawkeye.
is.
And honestly, I love that they give him great lines too when he's up there and he's like, "You want me to shoot this guy? Because I'm kind of rooting for him now."
Better make the call quick because
Yeah.
I'm starting to like this guy.
Hawkeye is vastly underrated.
Yes, he is. Jeremy Renner is a great actor to play him too. We get Anthony Hopkins as Odin. I think
yes.
that's a perfect choice.
Anthony Hopkins.
Yes, Anthony Hopkins. I don't know how many more he's going to do, but like,
How amazing his contract.
if you want an Odin, I don't think you can get probably a better choice than Sir
Wasn't
Anthony
he kind of like
Hopkins.
the first reach into that huge pool?
Yeah,
of,
like those like
Robert
elitely
Redford
talented actors.
and,
Yeah, like
who was in the Nova Corps?
Glenn Close.
Glenn
yeah.
Close.
This
Like
is
those,
the first time Marvel Studios had money to pay for somebody.
Yeah, right.
Right.
They had Iron
Fair
Man
enough.
money, and they said, "Hey, sir,
I got to give a call out to the guy who lost the Thor role to Chris Hemsworth. Does anybody know who it was?
Nope.
Jared Padalecki from Supernatural, actually.
good
Nice.
call."
He is a giant.
He is a giant, but I love it. And there's an episode of Supernatural where there's like a bunch of like mythological items, and one of them is Thor's hammer. And in the show, he actually gets to like swing Thor's hammer. So it's pretty funny. I think that this film is good. I do. Like, it's very underrated, I think. And you get all these things. Let's not forget about, Idris Elba as Heimdall, who's doing nothing in this film.
Yeah, he really hates that he signed that contract.
Yeah.
Some of the interviews that he's given.
Yeah, he's not a Marvel fan at the moment,
Not
I guess.
a huge fan of the
But he probably has,
franchise.
one more left. I'm guessing he bites it in Ragnarok at some point.
Well, if it's Ragnarok, everyone bites it.
Everyone bites it.
That's
Yeah.
the whole point
Kind of the point of Ragnarok, yeah.
No, but I think this is a good place for it. Because as we said, there's none of these movies are bad. They're
Well,
just...
we're getting into the middle of these films, and they're all, again, not bad films, so the middle is really a good crop of movies, because I would argue whatever our last four are probably could be number one.
Well, that's what Ray
Any-
Lytle said. The top five for him interchanged.
Right, depending on when you're watching. I know my number one kind of surprised me when I went back and thought about it, but we'll get to it, but these are so interchangeable.
Yes. Yeah. So
My top 5 are within 10 points of each other.
Right, same here.
Jeremy, would you have this on your list?
Thor, I gave it an 84, so I'm going to say it was probably 9 or 8. 8 or 7
So
for
you
me.
ranked them all pretty high?
Yeah, I ranked.
I gave Iron Man 3 a 60.
The lowest score I gave a film was a 78.
I gave a 65 to Iron
Somebody
Man
gave
2.
Hulk a 1, by the way.
That was Dressel. That was Brian Dressel. He gave.
You're
no,
the
he
reason
gave.
why I hate this.
No, he gave Iron Man 2 a 1.
Oh, okay. He gave somebody a 1.
Yeah, so he gave it a 1.
Way
I'm
to
guessing that
break
skewed the
average.
score just a little bit.
This is why stats don't work.
Good job, Brian.
That's right. Thanks, Brian. Throwing the wrench in. All right, let's move on to number 7.
Number 7. The Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Okay, The Avengers: Age of Ultron. As you hear the Danny Elfman score, oh, it's so good. Okay. I can see that.
I notice we're not going to talk much about the middle movies. We're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Got
okay.
it.
Well, I want to talk about Ultron a little bit.
This is a pretty
because-
divisive film for a lot of people.
If you go back and listen to the very first episode of the Front Row Movie
This
Reviews,
was our first episode, Age of
it was
Ultron.
myself, Jeremy, and Tim, and we were just talking about Ultron, and we were just gushing about this movie. And this is one of those things where, going into Civil War, I'm trying to tamper down my expectations, because I went in there with just such these goggles on, and I thought that this was one of the best movies ever made.
You guys never wear goggles
And
for movies.
and then, afterwards you start thinking about it, and it does its job as a film, but I mean, it's just not. It's one of those transition pieces. Things happen so quickly and escalate so quickly. I believe the first appearance of Ultron in that movie is 19 minutes in.
Yeah.
And that just seems like
if you're not counting the voice interaction with Jarvis,
Well, sure, but they had a lot to get done in that movie. I think Joss wanted it to be a completely different type of movie. He even said recently that he thought it was a terrible movie. I don't agree with that at all. I think he's being hard on himself.
Yeah.
But I think it ends up right in the middle of the Avengers movie, nowhere near the first Avengers that he put together.
No, and I mean, a lot of people do that. I'm trying to look up how long this movie was.
It was the longest when it came out.
Let's
It was
see.
2:15.
141 minutes. So that's 2 hours 21 minutes,
Yeah.
right? Honestly, I said this on our first podcast too. If you had 5 minutes of explanation about where Thor is going when he enters the hot tub Thor machine,
Or
and
just cut out.
when you go to that, if you add just a little bit, because you're right, the problem with that is it's really cool scene. We get to see the Infinity Gauntlet and the clouds and everything, and get to see a little bit of Ragnarok, but it's just there. He's like, oh, I'm going into this water. It might kill me. Explain a
There's
little.
actually a deleted scene on the Bluray that explains it. There's actually
Exactly.
demons in the water. It still doesn't hold up.
Yeah, and I think I saw that, and he's possessed by the demons.
Yeah,
He's like,
he's we're going to kill you, son of Odin. I'm like, no, it still sucks.
Yeah. But I mean,
There are
just
better ways.
a scene of them talking, okay, where are we going? Why are we going there? Okay, let's go. That's all I
They
needed.
needed an exposition.
I'm going to defend this to the death. I think Ultron's one of the best villains in the MCU too, because it's the
Spader was
perfect
amazing.
pairing
Spader
of villain and actor
Amazing.
I've ever seen. I'm sorry, but his voice is so magnetic and hypnotic, and oh my God, he was just so perfect, and he had Ultron to a T. And I just wish that we would have gotten a little bit more time with him in this film. But you're right, there's so much to add. You had to get Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in there for the first time. In the MCU. But I still enjoyed this film quite a bit, and I think the final sequence of the protecting Sokovia, of course, that iconic shot with all of them fighting around, and plus we get the Vision for the first time in this, and he's got to feel is going to play a big part in Phase 3.
Well, and also, this is the Avengers themselves. You have the initial Avengers, which we knew from Avengers 1. But then as you go along, you get War Machine coming in to get their back at the end. And you get the new Avengers at the very end of the movie, which obviously is going to play very heavily into Civil War.
Yes, it is.
But also, I just love the fact that this was Marvel's, and again, I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to beat up on DC one more time. This was Marvel's answer to Man of Steel. Man of Steel, where everyone dies because Superman's incompetent. Marvel comes in there and says, okay, we have a floating city, people are going to get killed, get everyone off. That's our job. Our job is not really to take out Ultron. Our job is to save the people on the city. That's what the Avengers are. That's what the Justice League should be. That's what the Avengers are.
Yeah. Al, what do you think of Ultron?
Yeah, you guys are saying all the things that I think about it. It's definitely like a connector. It feels like the middle.
Yeah, it feels like the middle of a whole thing. Yeah,
we get Wakanda too, and we get Claw.
Wakanda for the first time. Yeah. Oh yeah, Andy Serkis is in this. God, yes.
Well, there's so much in this movie. That's the problem.
It's Iron Man 2 for the Avengers.
Right,
and that's
so
what I
much
think.
of this movie.
And yeah, I think that's the defining characteristic of this film. The individual parts are fantastic. Like everything there, it's just how they're glued together. I feel because I loved all the scenes on Hawkeye's farm. I loved it.
Yes.
I loved the scene between Tony and Steve. Like where he just rips the log and
the chopping of the wood, that was a great scene.
I loved that scene. Yeah, like all the stuff with the twins I actually thought was really good too, when you get like their motivation when they're telling Ultron about what happened to him, why they hate Tony Stark. Nick Fury making his appearance again. And of course, when the helicarrier comes back in the final battle, like
dug it out of mothballs.
Yeah, exactly. There's like so many good parts, but you're right. It's just a little too disjointed to be up in the upper echelon of these movies.
And let's not forget, this movie almost killed Joss Whedon.
It almost did. In real life.
He's still, as of like 2 weeks ago, he was doing an interview where he was apologizing for this movie and how he was so upset with how it turned out. Yeah. Which I disagree with.
Which I disagree. This is still a great film. It's just not... upper echelon MCU.
Going to Allison's point, this is Jeremy Renner's movie through and through.
Oh, yeah, this is the apology for the Avengers.
He does such a good job as Hawkeye, and that's almost why I almost wish that would have been the end of the role for him. That maybe he would have taken the bullet as opposed to Quicksilver, just because it was such a fitting end if they were going to do that. And Hawkeye, not exactly the most major character in the Marvel universe, but he's got a great comic book run, by the way, which you can buy at Killen's Comics.
Excellent.
Yes, buy at Killen's Comics.
Yeah, the all new Hawkeye is such a great run.
But he has a lot of really funny things. Like he has a lot of funny little one-liners. Like when Quicksilver runs by him, he's just like, one shot, no one would know. I don't know what happened to him. He was with Ultron, and then I don't know. Like
he's got that great scene with Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, the speech.
If you come out, you're an Avenger.
You walk out that door, you're an Avenger. Oh God, it's so great. He's like, look, I'm fighting robots with bows and arrows. All right, like
none of this makes sense.
None of this makes sense. All right, but that's my job. We got to protect this.
That's the great thing about Hawkeye is that he is a regular dude.
That's why I love Hawkeye.
Really good with a bow and arrow.
Yeah,
that's all.
And he lives on a farm. And yeah, he has a hot wife, just Family Guy, nice big farmland. I had this at number 4
and that's
for
why
me.
I think the farm scene plays up. You say it was to be draw an end to the character. I think it was perfect to add suspense because you thought
they set that up.
Yes, they did. The rifle on the counter, Chekhov's gun, and you're like, okay, Hawkeye's going to die. But then when Quicksilver comes in and takes the bullets, several of them,
which honestly I thought was a good turn there. I thought that was like a really cool little
Witch
moment.
Just takes everyone out.
Oh my god, she goes nuts.
No more mutants.
But like I thought that was a good if you had to kill somebody, like it was really cool. I thought that they went in that direction with it because all through the lead up they were talking to Aaron Taylor Johnson in the press conferences like, oh yeah, I signed this big contract, there's so many movies. I'm like, you freaking liar.
We made a deal with Fox.
Which is why when Chris Evans says, oh, I'm signed up for Infinity War, I'm going to be there for 9 months, you can't believe it until we see the next until we see the movie next week.
Believe that one.
Yeah, so anyway, okay, but yeah, so Age of Ultron, I like it.
Well, yeah, and just one quick point, this movie was my favorite introduction of characters throughout all of them. When you saw Vision and Scarlet Witch,
Paul Bettany's so good.
Yeah.
Paul Bettany's great.
Yeah, he's phenomenal, and just their introduction of their characters were my favorite introductions throughout all these movies. And
let's not forget, guys, Vision picked Thor's hammer up, and it was one of the best reveals of the whole movie.
He wasn't the only one. Steve picked it up too.
Steve nudged it a little, and even seeing that scene, like that party scene, like it was still great in the movie. Like Thor's just like his smile just goes away.
Yeah,
No
Chris
kidding.
Hemsworth, his reaction to that was so
let's not forget.
so perfect.
Let's not forget, we saw that scene about 50 times
And
in
it
the
was
lead
still
up.
great. And it was still great in the
Still
movie. It was still so funny. And of course, like, Don Cheadle's just like, bam, you looking for this? Like, everything. Why do I even hang out with you guys?
And of course, the end credit scene, we get
We get Josh Brolin, Thanos, for the first time.
Well, that was the second time because he was in Guardians. But
Guardians did come out first.
But
yeah.
still, like it was like our first real look at him. You know,
I'll do it myself.
And as end credits go, that's a pretty damn good one, I think. So.
And I want that statue they have at the end that are flying around. I want that on my
Oh my
desk.
god, that's so cool in the end credit sequence.
If I can plug one more comic, the Vision, right now in the all
new Vision is really cool.
universe, the Vision is probably one of the best comics. It's this weird take. People ask me about like what it's about, and I would say it's like if Betty Draper had a comic book series.
Yeah.
That's the Vision.
Right,
And Craig, where can they find that comic?
At Killen's Comics
Killen's
on
Comics.
Wabash in Springfield,
it is
Illinois.
drawn very, very interestingly. It's one of the craziest drawn comics right now. Hey, shall we move on to number 6?
Let's.
Here we go, number 6.
Number 6, Ant-Man.
Ant-Man. Oh, okay.
Ant-Man much higher.
Okay.
I think I kind of had him in the
Hey,
middle.
this is the top half of the ranking, so I mean he's doing all right considering a lot of people expected this movie to bomb. Okay?
Right, that is true. This was supposed to be their first flop.
Yeah. I absolutely love this film. It's literally one of my favorites. I think I gave it a score of like 89. How much more perfect can you get than Paul Rudd as Scott Lang? Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, in the realm of MCU casting choices, like, he is so great in this role. And, like, he plays the line between goofy comedy and serious, like, action star so well. And again, you talk about big, like, exquisite acting pulls, like Michael Douglas is Hank Pym, and he actually contacted Marvel, said, "Hey, I would love to do a movie with you guys." Like,
and that technology to make him 30 years younger or whatever.
That's
that was
a great
so spot
opening
on.
to this film too. You get to see Howard Stark played by John Slattery. You get to see old Peggy Carter there, like in the Shield Triskelion before it's even totally built. Like it's so
totally
cool.
destroyed.
And before it's totally destroyed.
Movie to come.
You know, Aaron, but you're right. Like this is, I give Peyton Reed, the director, so much credit with this film because if you don't know Peyton Reed's filmography, it's not exactly critically acclaimed before this movie. But like what he did, he was such an Ant-Man sweaty that he went in and took up the reins.
Did you really go there?
Yes, but like he took the reins from Edgar Wright, who everybody was so excited to see him do this film. He picked it up, he like rewrote it with Paul Rudd, and it turned into one of the most enjoyable ones I think that we've had so far. Scott's trying to find.
Oh my God, they have a Titan AE action figure.
Titan AE.
That's one of my favorite movies.
Titan AE is back. No, but I love it. What do you think about Ant-Man, Kevin?
Well, this was my favorite. Some of my favorite cinematography out of all the movies,
man.
because when they're bouncing back between life size and not, and even though you saw like the train fall off in the trailers and everything, still just the bouncing back, I was just blown away by how it looked visually and how they were able to do that.
The first time when he's in the bathtub.
That sequence is so great.
It's so great.
He's got Hank Pym in his ear.
It's like, what's different from down here? Oh, you're right.
This also had the best sidekick
Michael
character,
Pena.
and Michael Pena
Oh, yeah.
was so good in this movie.
Those sequences of him retelling the stories, the two times he does it, are that's some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen.
And what people don't realize is because they're like, oh, that was Edgar Wright. That was his script. No, Peyton Reed wrote those parts.
The most Edgar Wright looking thing in the film wasn't written by Edgar Wright. Like, I love that. But the one at the end is the best, where he's just like, where he's talking about the art gallery he's at, and he's like, no, I'm more of a Neil Kubitz guy. Like, there was this Renoir that was sublime, man. Oh my God. Like, that's actually a great character. But,
You mentioned Hawkeye is kind of like the everyman, like not really supposed to be there. Scott Lang's the same way, and they played it so well. And I think they're going to play it again the same way in Civil War.
Well, have you guys seen the clip with the first time?
Nope.
Oh, you haven't seen it
I
yet?
am on a Civil War blackout. I'm done with it.
Well,
They ruined Avengers Age of Ultron
Scott
for
Lang
me.
kills Iron Man.
All in the trailer.
Takes the Infinity Stone from Vision's head and rules the world.
and just takes him out.
No, I did hear about that scene from D23, and they say it's really funny.
Go check that out if you're not Jeremy.
Yeah.
And you
Half the
be
movies
excited.
are released on the internet at this point.
Yeah,
so
this is why I'm
go
on
check that
blackout.
out.
No, but you're right. Like Kevin, you called it out correctly. Those miniature sequences,
They were brilliant.
so well shot and so much fun too. Just to see like how he uses the ants too. Like when he's riding through the water system and they make a ladder up, and then like it looks so epic and so dangerous, and then it's just the faucet. Like,
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I know I've been doubling down on this for almost a year now, but Quantum Realm is going to be what Doctor Strange is. I still
think
say
so,
that's gonna
too.
be. So I think Ant-Man is our lead into mysticism in the MCU, and that's a perfect way to do it.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
and
Wait
Kevin's
for
lost.
Doc Strange, and you'll know.
But we forget literally what I think is the best part of this film, though, the fight with Falcon. I mean, come on now.
And that's also acknowledged in that scene where they meet for the first, where he
It
meets
is?
Steve
Oh, good.
Rogers for the first
Okay.
time. But that scene with Falcon is so fantastic. I actually love Sam Wilson's Falcon. I know that he got some. I think it was Nate that didn't like him as an actor or something like that.
Nate
But
doesn't
man,
like so many things.
fair enough.
That's the nature, man.
But no,
Nate liked Batman versus Superman.
Hey now.
Why do you keep coming back to this? This is a Marvel podcast.
Because I hate it so much.
No, but you're right. Like that scene starts out so great because he's like, "I thought you said this was a warehouse. It's not, you son of a bitch." Like,
well, and as much as I just joked about half the movies being released on the internet, I had no clue going into this movie that anyone from the Avengers were going to show
Right.
up.
Yeah.
And when you see the Avengers A on that factory, you're just like,
Somebody's here.
Oh, this is going down.
When Anthony Mackie comes out.
all the lines are
okay.
just so great. Though it's like, it's okay, you can't see me. I can see you. Like, hi, I'm Scott. Did he just say hi? I'm Scott. He's like, first big fan.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the sequel because even the title sounds like a comic book run. Ant-Man and the Wasp. And first of all, it's
the
one
Wasp!
of the the Wasp. Talk about the Wasp,
dude. Yeah, Evangeline Lilly, man.
She's not the Wasp until the end of this movie, but
She
Evangeline Lilly.
kicks all kind of butt in this movie.
I think
Like,
you said Whitey's at
I
first.
said ladies.
Whitey's!
No.
whitey ladies.
No.
Good ice
She
cream.
is. I don't
No, but
It is
did
good ice cream.
Evangeline Lilly do it for you in this film?
Yeah,
like as a strong
really
female
did.
character?
Yeah, I really enjoyed her. She had, a strong internal life of her own. She was a really well developed character.
She was.
And I look forward to see her portrayal of, really see her portrayal of the Wasp because she didn't really get into it
It'd
too
be
much
kind of
yet.
cool to see if she's going to be one of those characters that they just pop into Civil War without telling us.
That would be-
Because
that
I'm
would
sure
be
that
cool.
there's
I
some.
would be into
She's
it.
got the suit.
She's
And,
got the suit.
and we're all assuming, and this is the way it's probably going to be, is the Wasp and Ant-Man and the Wasp is Scott Lang and Pym's daughter. I'm blanking on her name for some reason.
Hope.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Hope Van Dyne. But it also could easily be Ant-Man and the Wasp from the 1980s too,
Yeah.
kind of intertwined in there as well, trying to get her mom back. So
I'm
we
sure
may
that
have
that's
two
gonna be the
Wasps
story.
for all you
Yeah.
know.
I have a
That'd be
theory
cool,
that
too.
I have a theory the end credits of Doctor Strange is going to be Hank Pym coming to Doctor Strange
That'd be awesome.
asking him for help to
that'd be
find
cool.
her. Like,
It's like, yeah.
I would really love for that.
I hear you can play around in the fifth dimension.
Might I inquire your help?
The nice part about Marvel, coincidentally, resetting their entire universe right before this, you can jump on Astonishing Ant-Man, the comic book series. I actually haven't read that one, but from what I can tell by our guys, actually the Bystanders, another Neat Right Network podcast, talks about them all the time and they love that comic book run.
Welcome to the Front Row Movie Plugs, where we plug.
That's what I do.
Why?
I
I'm
just
at
want to
Killen's
spread the love.
Comics. All right, so we are now at the top 5 MCU films of all time.
And I want to note, the best character ever still hasn't been mentioned.
Okay. I think I know who you're talking about, so we'll see where he ends up in this. All right, shall we go to number 5? Here we go.
Number 5, Iron Man.
Okay, the first Iron Man.
That is actually my 5.
Okay.
It seems low, but I mean, again, these are all great movies at this point.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is the one that started it all. This is the one where it was a risk. John Favreau was a risk as a director. Robert Downey Jr. was certainly a risk
Big
as
risk as Tony Stark. Like, people
and
forget that.
No one knew Iron Man at this point. I mean,
Right.
like, the people that read comics and grew up with it, there were a couple animated series. He always popped into the Spider-Man animated series in the 90s.
Yeah,
but
a few times.
You know, that
I loved
it
that
wasn't
series.
It wasn't that kind of a mainstay of a character. This was going up against the Chris Nolan Batman series.
The very same year as The Dark Knight came out.
Yeah, so it made tons of money. I mean, it was just a big hit, and this is where it started. This is what started it all.
Absolutely.
I had it listed as number 4, mainly because of that reason. But right in the same area.
I put it at 88. This movie is a phenomenal piece of film. Like, it really is, just because of everything that went around it, how they had to they basically put all their chips in on Iron Man. Like, the Marvel Studios was going to fail if this movie failed. And you're right, it's the fact that Favreau had the guts to fight for Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. Now you can't even see anybody else as Tony Stark. Even in the new animated series of the Avengers, they're all modeled after Robert Downey Jr., like the voice actors who do this stuff. I mean, it was so perfect, and like that blend of it seems like they're improvising, but it's kind of scripted improvising that he and Gwyneth Paltrow did, really set up the tone of the MCU.
Oh, yeah. Well, you said the MCU wouldn't have happened. Remember, this was released by Paramount.
Yeah, this is one where they partnered
Marvel
with them.
Studios was a name, and that's it. This movie made Marvel Studios, not just MCU, Marvel Studios.
And it was a big, big risk. Honestly, this is one where I actually really love the villain, too. I love what Jeff Bridges did with Obadiah Stane. Again, we don't get enough of him, I don't think. But honestly, the first time I watched it, since I wasn't that familiar with Iron Man, I was totally buying him as just this kind of semi-goofy, side ally character. I did not see the turn coming for him. I thought they were just going to build up the 10 rings and just have them take some revenge or something.
No, they're going to ruin that in 2 movies.
Yeah, exactly. But I loved what Bridges did. I loved the kind of the goofy nature of it. But the scenes in the cave with Jensen and such, building the suit, it's so perfect because it sets up all the things that Tony Stark is about, and perfectly too.
And they did bring in the Black Sabbath.
Yes, they did. Yeah, that was a very electric guitar driven soundtrack too.
It was industrial, which was where it goes. And actually, it kind of built off the Iron Man animated series back in the 90s, which actually, the end credits used the animated series theme for the end credits. So it was very industrial.
And let's talk about that Easter egg scene, really where the MCU got its birth. Sam Jackson, Nick Fury, first time we see him.
And I'm trying to look back. I mean, this was legitimately a decade ago. We didn't know there was an end credit. I'm trying to figure out why I stayed. Because I don't think it was even on the internet.
I didn't go the opening.
I remember staying. And
maybe it was because everybody else was.
I didn't go to the opening. Did you come with me?
I went on my own, I think. But
I didn't go
because I don't
weekend,
know.
So
were you
other
even down
people
here
told
at this
me
point?
you have to stay.
No, I guess I wasn't.
See, I was in Springfield. You weren't. But
yeah.
I think maybe it was mid credits. I'll have to go back and look. But I'm just sitting there thinking, okay, movie's over, and I see it come back on. I'm like, what is this? And then,
yeah.
Oh, is that Sam Jackson?
Not since Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Have they had such a great end credit.
We will be talking a flashback on that
very soon. Cam, do you have any thoughts on Iron Man?
I have this ranked as number 3, basically because I'm a sucker for origin stories, and I really
great origin.
It was a great origin,
and so
and I love those types of stories, so that's why I have it up as 3.
That's good.
I want to see him bring back that old suit. I think it'd be fun.
What, the Cadillac suit?
Yeah, but I love
looks like Batman's suit, right?
I also love the banter between the banter between Jarvis and Tony in this movie is just so great.
The little robot guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but the way he's just he paints the suit as gold, and he's a little ostentatious. What was I thinking? You're always so discreet.
I apologize. I have to turn in my geek card potentially. But is this the Iron Man where we see Captain America's shield? Or that was
Iron Man 2.
Because the joke was he used it to prop up
when
he was making his super collider. I don't understand.
Yeah.
And his dad was Walt Disney. I don't know.
I love that.
Oh man, those outtakes that were great. No, but Iron Man, 5. Okay, I can see
it 6.
Definitely should be in the top 5. I think, but Scott.
Yeah, no, I mean it's
my top 5 have not been talked about yet. So
okay,
my top 5 were the top 5.
Yeah,
no, that was number 5, man. We're on 4 left.
No, we're not.
That was number 5.
Oh,
yeah.
do we?
Yeah,
that was 5.
Certain.
Okay, my top 4 have not been.
Okay, there you go.
See, on my Excel document, column 1 is movie.
Okay.
So therefore, there are 13 rows.
Okay, I
got you. I just did it on a notes page.
Yeah, it's in an
Scott,
email.
this is the front row, not the 13th row.
Scott's so much more professional than us.
Just because I have Excel on my phone?
Scott's like, I'm going to run this through SPSS, and it's going to be...
Thank you, state
awesome.
Taxpayers, for buying me Office for my phone.
There you go.
Thank you.
Sponsored by the state of Illinois. All right, so we're ready for number 4?
Yeah.
Here we go. This is number 4.
Number 4, Captain America: The First Avenger.
The First Avenger is all the way up to number 4.
All the way up? It should be higher.
By the way, this is one of the best themes from an MCU film I've ever heard in my life.
Yes!
This sounds like something they play at the Olympics, all right? And I love it.
It does.
Let's keep playing the show.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
It's gone.
Yeah, okay, like this. You guys talk about this because I want to do something with the numbers.
I had Iron Man and this flipped. So I had Iron Man 4, Cap 5. I love this movie. A lot of people hated on this movie when it came out, but the thing about it is you have such a hard job to introduce this character who is unapologetically patriotic in a time when we are all so just jaded about anything that's patriotic. So it's done without apology. It's done so well. You get to see the rise of, and then the thing I love about it is the PR angle. So they've got this super soldier. Yeah, they've got this super soldier, and they're like, how are we going to use him? Well, we're going to use him as a marketing. He's going to sell war bonds.
Sell war bonds.
Perfect. That makes perfect sense.
By the way, the song, the Captain America song, written by Alan Menken. Thank you very much.
And it harkens back to another Joe Johnson film that I love, which is The Rocketeer.
Yes.
I mean, it just feels
Listen
like The
to our
Rocketeer.
flashback
Yes,
on
let's
The
plug
Rocketeer.
ourselves for once. Which we talk about Captain America in the Rocketeer flashbacks.
Absolutely.
There you go.
It's such a fantastic representation of my favorite superhero. It starts off one of the best trilogies of movies that we've ever had in a comic book arc. And now it's going to be 4 movies in that series, because I do count Avengers as Captain America's movie.
Yeah.
But it's such a fantastic movie. I loved everything about it. To see little bitty Chris Evans, then ginormous ripped Chris Evans.
Using that Benjamin Button technology.
That was incredible how they did
touches
that.
his pecs.
Yeah.
I
That's
would
the second
too.
time I've talked about pecs.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you just talked about Chris Evans, like as perfect as Robert Downey Jr. is as Iron Man. Chris Evans is just as perfect
Just
as
so
Steve
perfect.
Rogers.
And we were questioning that. Remember when it came out, he was Human Torch.
He was the Human Torch from the
So we're like,
not quite as good Fantastic Four movies, like but like the way that. There's just this earnestness and this like sincerity to Steve Rogers as a character that Chris Evans was so good at, and I think the beginning scenes of him as a runt, where he's fighting the big dude from the movie theater, and of course the great little trash can shield.
Do this all day.
But he's saying, "I can do this all day," and I love how they're gonna we've already seen from the Civil War trailers how he says that line again. He's like, "I can do this all day." There's
Talk
just
about
this
a callback.
There's just this. He is the moral center of all of these heroes, and like he is literally his aim as Captain America is just to protect people, just to protect the ones who can't protect themselves, and it really makes for a great arc.
He doesn't like bullies.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
But Captain America is my guy. He's been my guy since whenever. But I was kind of I was just hoping it wouldn't suck, because I can remember the 1990s Captain America movie, which never actually hit theaters for a good reason. But the problem with that one was they were so scared to do anything in World War II that they froze him in the first 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
This movie said, no, we're just going to go with it. We're going to have the bookends.
Full-on World War II.
But we're going to do a World War II movie. We're going to make it grainy. We're going to make it look like Rocketeer from 1930s, 1940s. And that costume with the straps for the stripes.
I love the redesign,
It's very militaristic.
But it still looks like Captain America, but it looks like practical Captain
America.
And I
love, and we'll talk about it because it hasn't come up yet, but I love that he brings that suit back for Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent anymore. I'm going back to my soldier outfit. I'm putting it back on. I love that costume. It's my favorite Captain America costume.
Let's talk about a little man named Hugo Weaving as the Red Skull, too.
He is my second favorite villain, and that is including the Purple Man. But I loved his portrayal of Red Skull in this. It just seemed like a perfect fit. It's sad that, if you go back and listen to interviews with him, he's not overly pumped about having been in this movie, but he's also...
I think that's more like just big blockbuster
Right.
movies in general.
I think it would be great if they end up bringing him back, and I think that they could easily for Infinity War, or maybe even at the end of Civil War here, but he was a fantastic villain. He portrayed Red Skull to a T, and you were terrified of the Red Skull.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there was some
He
scary
drive a killer
moments.
car.
Yeah, killer car.
Well,
Or that moment when he pulls off the regular mask,
And
it's,
he just- yes.
it's like so iconic. The walkways like separating from
And he
each other
throws it
over
in the
this
fire.
fire. Like
Yes,
it's
yes.
really, really cool moment.
Well, let's not forget, too, Red Skull through Captain America ties Indiana Jones into the MCU. because at the very beginning of the movie he says, "And the Fuhrer is off hunting for trinkets in the desert."
Yes.
Indiana Jones. And now Disney owns it, so it's all in the MCU.
Nice. Yeah, you're right. Like a very terrifying.
That's Mutt
villain,
Williams,
man.
so we're not going to count that
Yeah,
one.
we're not going to count.
I'm not
that
going to
one.
pick up that toy.
Kevin, what'd you rank Captain America?
I had this one as number 5.
Okay.
So right in the same area.
Yeah, right in the same area. It's a simple, another origin story, and also just the visual effects they were able to do with Chris and skinny, scrawny little Cap, Steve Rogers, and then how the transition. And who was that actress that played the main girl? She was hot too.
Haley Atwell.
Atwell.
She also
show.
Well,
Yeah,
it hasn't been brought
never
back
seen
for
either.
season 3 yet, and season 2
It probably won't be. But
Well,
season
she got
one
a
is-
different show too.
I think she's
so.
probably going to get a big arc, some big moments in Civil War too. I'm pretty sure.
I think we've seen a coffin in a trailer in Civil War's trailers, and I
think it's Peggy's.
It's Peggy's coffin. Just
I mean, she's up there now.
she's been through a couple things. She's
You're
like
right. Like this was
95.
that was another great female character in the MCU too, because she did not take the crap. Like she was, there in the middle of all the fighting and stuff. And when it looks like she shoots him with the shield in front of him, it's like, oh yes, it works. She was a great character.
Oh yeah, she's a great character.
And I mean, who kind of gets lost in this movie? I love Tommy Lee Jones in this movie.
Yes!
I think that he is fantastic.
When he's
in
eating
this.
the steak in front.
Yeah, he brings
I brought you food.
Yeah, he's like, yo, what's in it? Cow. It's so
how hard
great.
it is to get a steak out here in the front line.
Oh God, man, Armanzola, that's the guy. But it's just a great movie, and of course, this sets into motion probably everything we're getting in Civil War, because this is where Bucky dies. This is where we lose him. I mean, there's just so many great moments in this. And honestly, you're right. This was not very highly thought of when it first came out. But these are the scores that we all got from Captain America: The First Avenger. It got 89, 87, 98, 85, 89, 92, 93, 86, 90, and 95.
Yeah, there you go.
98 was mine, by the
So,
way.
clearly,
your
this
top?
movie. This was your. No, this is your second.
This was my third.
Oh.
I gave 199 and 100.
I couldn't bring myself to
But
giving anything
here's
100.
my question. Do you think that the way that Steve Rogers has played out in the Avengers and how good another film on this list is going to be, do you think that's colored how people see this, or does it just get better with time as the MCU develops?
See, I've always liked it. I always liked it.
Yeah,
when it came
I
out.
liked it from the get-go.
I love it too. I'm just saying the general audiences did when it first came out.
When I walked out of First Avenger and I Facebooked it, this was the best superhero movie I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Facebook was around then?
Listen up, kid. I remember back at Western when we they added our email accounts. We can get Facebook now.
This is what, 2011, I believe, because Avengers came out in 12.
Okay, yeah, it was
we were
definitely
all
around then.
out of college by then.
I love this movie. I
was
think it's
back in
fantastic.
college.
Well,
All right, shall
For
we
the
see
second
what shall we see what number 3 is, huh?
Gee, I wonder.
All right, here we go.
Wonder.
Number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy is number 3.
I so enjoyed
This
it.
is this is my number one.
It's my number one.
Movie of the MCU.
Okay, this is Craig's number 1.
I love
All right,
it.
tell us why.
Let me defend why it is, because
It's a great movie.
It's a good movie.
It is such a different type of movie than anything that had come before it. It showed us that team ensemble come together almost better than the Avengers did, because the Avengers had this common purpose. The Guardians of the Galaxy did not have a common purpose. They were all coming at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
I loved the inclusion of Rocket Raccoon and Groot. I thought they were fantastic. I thought they looked you just kind of forgot that you were looking at a talking raccoon in a tree.
Yeah,
you know.
Right.
And it was fantastic. I have said it many times in this podcast. It is, and now I know that Star Wars: The Force Awakens is out, but it's the Star Wars for our time, because it kind of came out of nowhere. People thought that this would be a flop as well, and that Chris Pratt couldn't lead this movie because he was the guy from Community,
man.
Right.
Yeah.
or not Community,
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec.
yeah.
And so people didn't think they didn't put much faith in him, and
well,
now look, he's this
when
gigantic
first he
movie
was
star.
a goofy, pudgy guy.
He lost several pounds.
And he
for this
lost.
movie.
He
Which, by
got
the way, the Parks and Rec episode where they
ripped.
explain that away is hilarious.
That is really funny.
But no, it was great, and it's going to tie into so much when it comes to Thanos
I
and
think
being able to
Phase
see
3 is about to really be Guardian centric. I think
they're
heavy
gonna-
cosmic stuff.
Absolutely, and they're going to introduce Nova in Guardians 2, and it's going to be amazing.
And of
be
course,
cool.
we all thought this was going to be number 3 on the list when this came out, right? No.
When it came out in theaters.
Yes,
Hell
no. This was such a surprise, is what I'm getting at.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was in Chicago the day after I saw it, and I was texting you and maybe you or maybe Tim or somebody. I was just saying, go see it. You won't believe what you see.
Yeah.
I went back immediately and saw this in the drive-in. I was like, Anna won't come to many superhero movies, and I'm like, no, come here.
I made Joe go because Joe is not a superhero guy. He doesn't like them. It's not his thing. And I forced him to come with me, and he's like, I have to buy the soundtrack. This was so good. Can we see it
clearly
again?
one of the best movie soundtracks of all time.
I can't wait for Volume 2.
I'm going to be with you, though. I think that the decision to go with Bradley Cooper as Rocket was probably the best thing about this movie, even more than Chris Pratt as Star-Lord, because Rocket is amazing in this. The way he does, he's got like a semi-Brooklyn accent, but he's got like all of his lines are just so hilarious. Like
but then he kicks you in the feels.
Yeah, exactly.
When they're on nowhere, and like he goes into this tirade about how people
they like tore him apart and put him back together,
and now everybody treats him like a freak, and you're like, oh, it's just a cute little raccoon.
But it's like he's so freaking hilarious too. Like when they're making the choice to like go up against Ronan, and they're just like, oh yes, they're standing up, all fighting, and then after they stand up, he says, ooga ooga ooga.
What excites me about Guardians 2 is that James Gunn said that he was able to get the rights to every song he wanted to use for
I would imagine they're probably going to get some big royalty bumps.
It's going to be awesome.
No, but just to finish, like when they all stand up, and then all of a sudden Bradley Cooper is like, great. Now we're all standing like a bunch of idiots. It's just like such a great character arc that they did. And it was all, I think, thanks to Bradley Cooper's talents there. Kevin, I know you don't really like Guardians that much, so it doesn't work for you.
No. Well, we've talked about this on a previous podcast, but my issue was, for me, it was just too new and too different compared to what we have on everything else, and that's probably
don't like stuff.
So that's pretty much why it's lower than everything. And we've had this discussion before where Chris Pratt just didn't do it for me in terms of the character. It's just like him in Jurassic World as well. He is a comedic actor, and there are some points he does make me laugh. He made me laugh hysterically during Parks and Rec. But for me, in those types of characters, it just didn't work for me.
I did like...
It was number 9 on my list.
I did like with Star-Lord's character. At the very beginning, you see him as a kid. His mom's dying of cancer, obviously.
Yeah, thanks, Disney. Again, always killing the parents.
Yes,
but that's not just Disney. That's an archetype.
So his mom asks why he gets, again, a fight in school. He's like, because they were beating up somebody who was little or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the next scene, he grabs this lizard and starts to shake it.
Which, again, you want to talk about opening sequences in a film?
Dance.
The dance to Come and Get Your Love through this temple is just so amazing. It, like, perfectly encapsulates, like, you know what, like, you're about... You're in space, there's, like, this epic, like, ship landing. He's in this thing. There's all these, like, like, this choir music. Then all of a sudden he just turns on the recorder and it's like, boom, 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 boom. And I'm just like, okay, I know what I'm about to see.
Then he gets back into the Milano, named after Alyssa Milano, by the way.
Yeah.
Gets in the Milano and he finds this green girl and he's like, oh, I forgot you were here.
I forgot you were here. Yeah.
Such an awesome
Of course,
movie.
Glenn Close just thrown in there for some reason.
John C. Reilly.
John C. Reilly?
He was great.
He was hilarious.
Every time I see this movie, I just have a big smile on my face for
it's such a
two
good
hours and whatever minutes. It's
And
fantastic.
John Cena.
No, it's
I was going to say, John Cena was not in this
wrong
movie.
wrestler.
It is the wrong wrestler. Who is it?
I don't know
Batista.
wrestling.
Oh, Batista is Drax.
Wrong
Oh my
wrestler.
God, he is so for like freaking great.
Nothing
in
will
this.
go over my head. I would jump high and catch it.
It's so funny.
Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are far too fast.
Just great.
Neither one of us had the quote. By the way.
But it's just like when he's also like when he's about to kill Gamora, and like Peter Quill's just like, this, like, what does that mean? Running your finger across your neck.
It was great.
He played it so well, but of course, like the best line in this whole movie, though, where they're doing the lineups, and they're like, what a bunch of a-holes. Like, that guy is fantastic too. Everything about this movie.
The trailers for this movie were so perfect and spot on too.
And of course,
I remember the marketing was fantastic for this movie.
At Comic-Con, they had been filming for maybe a week.
Yeah, like a week and a half. They brought footage. Of course they did.
It's okay, though. It was pirated. Sorry, Fox. The footage was pirated from Comic-Con.
We'll get into that in our next news episode.
And
no,
Groot.
Oh, Groot. He is Groot.
How much do you think Vin Diesel actually made to just sit in his sound studio?
He made I Am Groot.
But he did say on one of the talks that he had to do it in like a bunch of different languages too.
Oh,
like,
sure.
No, I'm not saying
Such a hard
I'm not saying
job.
it's hard. I'm just saying like it's funny that like he actually went and he's like, "Yo soy Groot." All that stuff. Like that. I just find that really
Nosotros Groot.
Nosotros Groot.
And now the picture that James Gunn tweeted out for Volume 2 with Baby Groot.
Baby Groot on Drax's shoulder.
Oh my God, the movie! I'm so excited.
And
for
since
it.
we're talking about Guardians 2 for a minute, did everyone see Nathan Fillion's character?
He's playing
in Guardians
Simon
2?
Williams. Yeah,
He's playing Wonder Man.
But
I
probably
love
not
Nathan
Zack there.
Fillion. Nathan Fillion is also on my list.
He is in Guardians of the Galaxy too. You remember
He's on mine, too.
Yeah.
remember the giant alien that like walks up to them in the prison right when they first get there. And
That's
he's like,
Nathan
oh,
Fillion.
That is Nathan Fillion in a mocap performance. So like it's
In a
really
really
cool.
weird voice.
And there was a, Scott keeps saying that we didn't rate Howard the Duck. We did.
Howard the Duck's in here. He's
Howard the
number 3.
Duck.
He is totally in there.
Also, well, quick shout out, Benicio del Toro's The Collector's great. Like that's a really,
yes.
really cool scene. I love all the stuff in there.
I gotta say, the Howard the Duck thing was the most frustrating end credit. 'cause
I
was
did
just
not like that end scene
I was just like,
because
really?
I
Is
wanted
that
something
around
great,
for
but
this?
with the tenor of the
But it was
movie, it
fun.
makes
It was
perfect
fun.
sense.
You
Like,
also had Cosmo in it too.
yeah, Cosmo was in there.
Not the end credit scene, but Cosmo was in that.
Either way, all right.
So which one's gonna be number one?
We've
and number
got
two?
2 movies left, and I think
my
we
number
all
1
know.
and my number 2 are still there.
We
I
all
don't-
know
I
which
don't
ones
know.
are here. So
Well, yeah, we know
I
which
mean,
one.
we know which
we know which 2 are left. We don't
Legitimately,
know
these
the
are my
order.
number 1 and my number 2.
We got the
Same
we
here.
got a couple people. Do you think Captain America, Winter Soldier, or the Avengers is the number 1? Avengers.
Avengers.
Okay.
That's what I have.
All right, so we got all around. We got all around Avengers.
All right, so here we
let's
go.
see what's
Let's
number
see
2.
what number 2 in the MCU rankings is.
Number 2, Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Yep, yep.
Victory is mine.
Well, now we got to talk about this movie first.
Bring me all the bagels and muffins in the lab. What are you trying to say?
So, this movie was fantastic because, again, it was a genre piece and it was a spy thriller. Something that, once Robert Redford signed on, I was like, are you kidding me? They got him to do this movie? But it makes sense because it's totally a Robert Redford movie. I mean, he is perfect.
It makes you think
in
of
this
3 Days
role.
to the Condor and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah,
But
it's
at
amazing.
first, you're like, Robert Redford's doing a superhero movie?
But he's great in the movie too. Like he's fantastic. Like the scene
He's
specifically.
Robert Redford, of course he's fantastic.
In my life,
Did you see the movie where he was in the boat?
I don't care.
in my life, I've seen every Robert Redford movie. Okay, I've never
Boat
thought.
movie?
Yes, I've seen the boat movie, but I'm talking like the good old Robert Redford.
okay, I
Okay, Sundance Kid stuff. Okay, man.
Oh yes.
Okay. In my life, I never thought I would see Robert Redford say "Hail Hydra."
Whoa! But I'm telling you, that scene that he had, like in the movie, like he's okay. Like I love the scene he has with Steve, where he's like talking about like how it was and all that kind of stuff. It's when he gets that scene with Bucky, where he like smacks him. When he's like, "No, you don't know who that guy is." I was like, ooh, this is a really cool character here. Like this is really cool stuff we're dealing
He
with.
kills his maid.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish he hadn't come back.
But like, well, this is of course, and this is where we get Sebastian Stan to get a payoff because he is fantastic. I mean, he was great as Bucky, but like, this is another level with the Winter Soldier. The way he plays this character is just so perfect and so on note. There is so much damage inside this guy's head, and like, I cannot wait to see how they resolve that in Civil War. It looks like he's coming back to reality a little bit there. Yeah, like this movie is. Plus, let's not forget, like, Marvel once again took a huge chance when they didn't need to by letting the Russo brothers direct this film. I mean, they were known for directing and writing Community,
That's
which is
where I got Community.
ostensibly
It's from
that
the
is one of the
Russos.
funniest
paintball
sitcoms
episode.
that I've ever
God,
seen.
the paintball episode.
Like Community, if you haven't seen Community, like go and do yourself a favor. That show is hilarious.
They also
But-
wrote some of Arrested Development as
yeah.
well.
So they're like really funny guys, and then Marvel's like, "Hey, do this spy action thriller." Like
Super serious.
and they did it amazingly because the moment in this film where I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is cool," was the chase with Nick Fury through the streets,
That
where
was
like
cool.
they're
That was
trying to
crazy.
kill Nick Fury. The way that action unfolds with like that giant ram, like ramrod thing that they're trying to break down the door with. it's just shot so cool, and it's so, like, exhilarating, and I just couldn't even get enough of it. I was like, these guys have a knack for this type of thing, and of course we know that they're giant comic book readers, too. And of course now they're directing Civil War and Infinity War, so clearly Marvel made a really, really amazing choice here, and I think that's a big reason why the movie works.
Yeah, and this is, Craig, you kind of already mentioned it, and you already mentioned it too, Jeremy, is this is what sets Marvel movies and good superhero movies apart, is they're not a superhero movie, they're a genre movie with a superhero.
With superheroes in them.
Civil War is going to be the same thing. It's going to be a thriller with a superhero in it, whereas in this was a spy movie with superheroes in it. And that's when Guardians of the Galaxy, space opera with superheroes. When you do a genre with a superhero movie, it's a better movie.
Yeah, I mean, Alice, what do you think of Winter Soldier?
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it. It's in my top 3 on here. I don't remember exactly what ranking I had it, but yeah, I think it's a genre movie with superheroes.
Yeah.
They don't get hung up on superheroes.
Yeah.
We gotta make it flashy and crazy and no, tell the story.
Yeah, exactly, and what a story it is. And plus, I love the interactions that Black Widow and Steve get to have in this film. Like, she's as much a main character in this as anyone else.
She is. She really gets to shine in that.
And that's why a lot of people say, like,
the mall
you know,
scenes where when they kiss and stuff like that. Even that, like, is played so funny. Because Steve's like, oh my god.
You never talk about, like,
the girl.
Talk about, like, deep. Well, yeah, and in the car, it's just like, how long has it been? Like, but you know, deep character development there, because again, in that car scene where she's talking about, you know, no, I don't trust anyone, and like that's like what I'm going to do. He says it's not a good way to live. She says it's a good way not to die. Like, you know, like there's so much great character there. That's why I don't mind when they're talking about, oh, where's Scarlet or Scarlett Johansson? Where's Black Widow's solo movie? I'm like, she kind of has it. Like, you know, Captain America: Winter Soldier was kind of just as much her movie as it was Steve's.
The arc that we're having, and we kind of talked about this in a news episode. Craig, you've already hit on it. From First Avenger, Avengers, Winter Soldier, and now Civil War, they have done Captain America so well.
Yeah,
and
it's the best trilogy.
Stark, yes,
like,
and
Steve Rogers.
Yes, we
Who
know
did he say?
Stark.
Iron Man, yeah.
It's fine.
It's cool.
We know this character arc so well because they've done it so well that Winter Soldier is a perfect continuation. And depending on how Civil War goes and ends, it will be a great end to a trilogy.
Yeah, I think so. Kev, what do you think of Winter Soldier?
This was my number 2, and like everything, I agree with what everybody's saying. I think it's a great setup for what we're going to see on Thursday. And so this was number 2, and I've seen it dozens of times, and I continue enjoying it every time. One of my personal favorite scene is on when they're on the elevator.
Oh yeah!
Oh my god!
And you got to see a little bit of that in the trailer, but not.
Yeah,
it was
that
a payoff.
was an epic
Before we
scene.
start, does anyone want to get off?
Yeah, that was a great.
A BAMF line, man. Like, I'm just telling you.
There was a bit of controversy in this movie too, because of the way they handled Black Widow's kind of sterilization and that. Or was that Ultron?
That was Ultron. The scene with Banner, yeah.
Ultron, never mind.
Which, by the way, people read in that completely differently. She wasn't saying she was a monster because she couldn't have kids.
Right.
She was a monster because she was trained to be an assassin.
Kills a lot of people. Like,
but you mentioned the soundtrack for First Avenger. The music for this is just as good in a different way.
Yeah.
And I love the
more sinister.
The Washington Nationals actually play this as their opening when they come out on the field, and it's just so perfect. I love Winter Soldier soundtrack.
Do you like talking about this is where we get Falcon for the first time?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the way the movie opens with him like running on your left.
Oh,
on your
left.
left. So brilliant. Then like he meets up with him. He's just like, hey,
that's how I feel.
You gonna do another lap? Did you just do it? I assume you just did it.
You boys know the way the Smithsonian. I'm looking for some fossils.
His little notebook.
Scott talked about it already, but when he went to his own exhibit in the Smithsonian and stole back the suit.
Pretty cool.
It's Stanley's fired.
Yeah. Pretty cool, but I mean, like,
and
just
Gary
so
Sinise was doing the voiceover of that.
Yeah, he totally was.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Diane. Yeah, I don't think you can talk about this movie enough. It's just fantastic. And plus, you mentioned the elevator scene. The way the action is shot with the Russo brothers, it looks so plausible while also looking super heroic at the same time.
There is not one bit of shaky cam in this entire movie. We know what's going on because it's filmed well.
But it's just like when I see it, like when, you know, I did see one spot for Civil War where, Steve, kicks the car and it hits somebody on the other side of the car. It looks so believable. Yeah, of course Steve Rogers can do that.
He's Captain America.
But, it shouldn't look that way. But it's just the way the Russos shoot things. So,
Right.
all right, well, let's get to our number one.
So much suspense.
As if anybody doesn't know,
What?
everybody at the table down there was correct. Here we go.
I was
And number
correct.
1, The Avengers.
Yes.
Whoa,
what?
out of left field.
What? The Avengers? By the way, again, amazing music theme.
Yeah.
Alan Silvestri. Woo! We'll probably have to do a classics or something, or a flashback on the Avengers, but what can you say? I mean,
Joss Whedon.
gave it to Joss Whedon, the Geek King, and he totally knocked it out of the park. Gal, what do you think of the Avengers?
I'm a total Joss Whedon fangirl.
Oh, of course.
I have been forever.
Everybody in Killen Enterprises must be as well.
I feel like that's a requirement. But yeah, as soon as I heard he was attached to this project in the first place, I was like, yes, yes, yes. Oh my God, they can't let anyone else do this movie.
Geeks everywhere were just cried out in joy, yes, give it to our king.
Because we know he is, he's the Geek King. We know he does action well. Buffy,
Firefly, hello.
Dollhouse, even.
Yep.
I mean, it's what he does. He does fantasy action, and he does it in a way that draws you in, and he doesn't let you get too bogged down, even though he'll kill all your favorite characters.
Let's not forget his writing credit, Alien Resurrection.
Oh, yes. Oh, God. He also wrote Buffy, though.
I joke about that, but if you go back and watch Alien Resurrection, it is so a pilot for Firefly, it's not
It
even
really
funny.
is. Even the way it's shot, too.
Firefly.
No, you're right, but the pitfalls of this, bringing all these characters together, giving all of them enough time, giving them a threat that feels plausible. Joss wrote and directed this movie, I believe, along with his brother, and
Jed.
It's just amazing. It's just amazing how everybody feels right. And I love that he didn't just be like, oh, there's a threat, let's all be friends. He creates conflict between these people, and he even says it in those lines. When we get Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner for the first time here, and when he says, what, are we supposed to be a team? No, we're a time bomb. This is not, this can't work and everything. Plus the freaking comic book fanboy moment, Hulk and Thor fighting on the helicarrier.
Yeah.
Just amazing stuff like that. You can't really talk about Mark Ruffalo's Hulk enough, I don't think. He just really finds the great balance with that Bruce Banner character.
I cannot find one thing wrong with this movie. I actually gave it a 100
You
out of
did?
100.
You give it a perfect score?
It is my top 5 movies of all time, period. It is a perfect movie. From the start, you have an initial build-up with the SHIELD facility. You immediately go into the Avengers logo with that wonderful soundtrack. You jump into Ruffalo. It's a perfect movie. And this, from start to finish, it's just I can't gush about it enough, so I won't.
No.
You could just put on repeat the shot of them circling the Avengers for probably a solid hour and a half, and I would still just watch it.
Pardon the French, anyone in the room, that is visual porn right there. That shot is visual porn.
Of all the things we could have said, we've been very good.
Yeah, we've been very good.
Was the worst word we could have there.
No, you're right. That shot's so amazing. But also, they give each character their moment when we're introducing them. You get Ruffalo the Hulk trying to stay away from conflict, trying to help people still, though, because that's who he is. Iron Man, working on his tech, of course. Steve in the gym, just working out, trying to train himself like he always does.
Even during the final battle, you have that. Everyone gets their moment. And I'm just going back to my favorite character, Captain. When he jumps on that hood of that car and the cops are looking at him like he's a crazy man, he's like, and you get people there, here and here and here, and you're like,
why are we going
to listen to you? And he takes out a couple drones, and there you go.
That was a great moment.
He has that Cap finishing move where he just cuts one of their heads off with the shield, and he just stays down. He doesn't even move, and then the cop's like, I need all these guys. He doesn't even move. He doesn't even need to look at him again. He's just like, yeah, you're going to do this.
We got it.
No, but this is also where we get a lot of the Avengers using each other's weapons to fight with each other. Iron Man hits the shield and he
we had the combo moves from Capcom versus Marvel.
Exactly, all these combo moves. But I mean, we should talk, I guess, about Jeremy Renner getting a little screwed in this as Hawkeye.
You know what? It moved the story along.
It did.
Moved the story along. And you know, at the end, he gets a couple good shots at Loki, so you know
Yeah,
what?
he does.
Yeah. Or the one where he shoots the arrow at Loki. Loki grabs his like, I'm a god and you're an archer.
Yeah.
Boom.
We know that he got the arc in Ultron. We know that he got it made up for. So.
And I love the shot where he actually like jumps off the building and shoots his wire arrow. Like, really cool shot.
What makes this movie special to me is this was my introduction to the Marvel comic universe, and
so you hadn't seen any of them before
I had not
this?
seen anything before this movie. And it was the perfect entry for somebody like me, because how it started with everybody in their own little worlds doing whatever, and it was the perfect introduction for me to everybody. And then I started watching all the movies since then. But that's why it's special, and that's why it was my number one, because, well, it was my first kind of introduction to these movies. It set up everything for that I watched, even though it was a little post everything that I would be watching in later movies. But when I went back and watched it,
but you see, this is kind of dealing with what Batman v Superman kind of didn't a little bit, dealing with like gods and like these big. No, but like
he did it, not me.
This is the one thing I will give about Batman v Superman. I think Snyder was trying to do this whole like gods and man type of thing, that like, you know, this mythic, like these mythical characters. They do it a little bit in the Avengers, but Joss Whedon never forgets to let you laugh as well, because you're talking about after Loki like attacks the museum, and you know they're talking about like, oh, he's like a psychopath, and Thor's like, be careful, he's of Asgard, he killed 10 people, he's adopted. He adds in these like little moments where you can still laugh because you're still watching a comic book movie, like, and you want to enjoy yourself.
And the best one is when Loki goes after Hulk,
and
Hulk just picks him up and tells him.
Do you realize like the amount of like that actually
that was
takes
the
some
biggest laugh
guts to do that
and that
shot
was the
too.
first thing we heard Hulk say was "puny god."
And then, but like the perfect thing, after he just smacks him around, you go back to Hiddleston's face, and he's just like,
They just get wrecked.
oh my gosh! But then again, another iconic shot. Right when Loki wakes up, all of them just sitting there, ready to pounce on him if he tries anything.
Which, has anyone seen the Marvel release, the build up to Civil War?
Is it the past is prologue one?
Yes,
Yeah.
and we were all together, and that's that shot where they're all right there.
And they're all just holding their own there. I mean, like, you can't tell. Like, there's everything in this movie. I agree with Scott. It's like, I give it a 98, and it's like, I don't give any movies perfect scores unless they're like Casablanca.
Amen.
But like, it's the movie is
but
just
the shawarma,
like
man.
The shawarma.
The shawarma scene.
But of course, let's not forget that end credit scene with Thanos. Like, amazing. Like, and how many people knew who Thanos was outside of our comic book fanboy community? Before that, like, and nobody knows. But I remember seeing this for the first time in the theater on opening night, and all of a sudden that happened. You see Thanos for the first time, and like literally, it was like an automatic response. Phones come out. Like, who's this guy? Who's at the end credits? Like, who is this guy? Oh, it's Thanos. Who the heck is Thanos? Like,
It's a super scroll, though.
But it's like everybody's trying to like do this, and that's because of the way that he like sequences this thing. The Battle of New York is one of the best action like set pieces in movie
it's a
history.
Good 25 minutes of just nothing but.
And you know, like everybody thinks about that shot of the
Like the last part
revolving
of
shot
Batman
of
v
all of them,
Superman.
but there's also a sequence, like I think it's about a minute and a half long, where they go through each of them battling in the Battle of New York. Stark's flying with that giant like Leviathan thing, then it goes to Cap and Widow fighting on the street followed by like Banner flying through the air. Like, it's like there's so many wow moments in this movie.
Going back a little bit to what Kevin said about how this was his introduction, this is one of the reasons why this movie plays so well for both the norms and the not norms.
Yeah.
For the normals,
the normal people.
This is an introduction, but for me, I mean, everyone was, again, I'm not going to bash on BVS for this point, I swear, but everyone said BVS was the movie everyone's been waiting for decades. This is what everyone waited for. No, I was waiting for an Avengers movie. And for me, they did it all right.
And the fact that we didn't have to reintroduce these characters or find out who they are, like the way Thor shows up, you know, like, oh, scared of the lightning, I'm not too fond of what comes after. Like, and then he just shows up. We don't need to be told who Thor is. We just saw his movie a year ago. Like, you know,
we
he's
ranked
right
it number 7 or 9.
Yeah, exactly. No, this is about as close to a perfect movie as you can get. And honestly, the scores on this one. Captain America Winter Soldier was at 92.7. The Avengers was 93.4. Yeah. So these were very, very close. And Guardians of the Galaxy was 92.3. So these were some really close scores with these three movies.
Scores. Had I given 100,
had you gone with Scott there. But no, like the Avengers is, I think, still the standard when it comes to the MCU.
Yeah.
Honestly, just as a closing cap-off question, do you think once we see Civil War, are you anticipating that becoming your favorite based on what the critics have been saying about it?
I don't want to, so I'm trying to go in with muddled expectations. From what I hear, obviously Marvel's confident in this movie. They put it out to the critics like a month before.
Which
they
just
said,
does not happen.
They said the embargo
does not happen.
The embargo, I was like assuming that they'd have an embargo of a couple of weeks. The embargo on that was like 3 days. They saw it on a Sunday and they got to release their reviews on a Wednesday,
which was
a
2
month
weeks
before.
ago.
Yeah, a month before
and everybody
the movie
was
came
surprised.
out.
If you don't listen to the Collider podcast, is a great one. But they were like, "Wait, we can talk about this? Like,
Yeah.
we can review this film right now?
Yeah.
It never happens that way.
It's amazing what happens when you have a good film.
Mark Bernardin on Fat Man on Batman too. I mean, he got to go see it, and just being able to check out and see this movie. I'm so excited for Thursday, but I want to be able to look at it like retrospectively and then see which one is my favorite. I still like Guardians for a very particular reason, so I don't know that it's going to be my favorite, but I think it will be a phenomenal movie because I have a lot of trust in the fact that we've built up a decade of characters going into this. It's not just throwing characters at us. We know these characters.
You know, I had to figure this out when I was making this ranking. I put Winter Soldier at 99 and Avengers at 100, and I think Civil War will never. I don't anticipate it ever being able to be more than Avengers because again,
because that'd be 101.
sorry. It would be tied, but Avengers holds that nostalgic piece in my life that since 1986, when I read my first comic, or maybe it's 87. I wanted to see these guys on screen.
Yeah.
So I think even with Civil War is amazing, which I think it's going to be, Avengers is always going to hold that special place in my heart.
Yeah, and I think, well, Al, what do you think? Is Civil War, are you anticipating it to be as good as they're saying?
I think it's going to live up to its hype. I sure hope so, because it's just this culmination of this storyline that we've talked about, this arc specifically for Cap, and this is you know, his like definitive battle.
Yeah, definitely is.
It's such a compelling story. Read the comics if you haven't read the comics.
Yes, read the Civil War
now.
arc. I liked it.
I hate saying this in the middle of a comic book shop, but the Civil War comic arc wasn't that good. Just throwing it out
I
there.
think the arc was good, but I don't think Tony Stark's part was like totally out of character. So even Iron Man in the comic books,
kind
like,
of goes in a really bonkers direction.
Yeah.
But you know, that aside, I think it does add a lot to your experience of viewing. Because I can say before you know I really got deep into these movies, I was not a big comic reader, and this is really what got me into comic books.
Yeah, good.
But
and hey, anybody that gets into comic books, I mean, come on,
Right.
the world's a better place. Wow.
Scott has found
Irwin
a
action
Steve
figure.
Irwin Crocodile Hunter action figure. The sticker on the box says, "Crikey, I talk."
It comes with a little bear, a little cub, and a crocodile. No stingray.
Too soon.
I can't think of a better way to finish off the podcast. Kev, do you anticipate Civil War being that good?
I think it's going to match the action scenes, and we've seen the glimpse of them on all the trailers, especially with the epic battle between Captain Bucky and Iron Man.
Captain Bucky.
That's not, guys,
Captain,
come on.
Bucky.
Thank you, Allison.
You're actually not that far off.
But yeah, I mean, you're not
Captain
far
Bucky
off.
happens.
It does.
So that one scene that we've seen, I have a feeling that the movie's going to be chock full of scenes like that, and I'm just so excited to see all the action. But yet, Avengers had that last 25 minutes was incredible action that we got to see nonstop, and I'm really anxious to see. It might be. I'm definitely bet it's in my top 3.
Yeah,
but will it move to number 1? I don't know. We'll find out Thursday.
From what we've seen,
What about you?
it looks like it fixes the issue of Stark in the movie.
Well, and that's the thing is like what I've loved about the build-up is like it seems like they are giving Tony and Cap both very good reasons to believe and fight for what they think, instead of just Tony's being a jerk and you know like it is in the comic book.
Comics he is such an
This looks
asshole.
like it is going to be literally everything that they promised and more, and then and by the way, we get to throw in Spider-Man,
Right, on top of it, we get
on top of
Spider-Man.
everything else. So, like, I'm anticipating this to be near Avengers level for me personally.
Absolutely.
I think so. I think it might be in a 98. So, anyway, that is about an hour and 40 minutes of us ranking the MCU films.
Longest podcast ever, I think.
Longest podcast.
One of them, for
One
sure.
of them, definitely.
We talked about 12 movies.
Yeah, 12
so-
movies. We did pretty good. But hey, as always, Guys, tell us what you think of this. Do you agree with the final rankings? If you do, why didn't you send one in yourself? If you
We
don't,
gave him a day's notice, to be fair.
No, but seriously, we'll listen. We'll
Didn't
put
send
them
him
up
in
there.
like certain person at this table right here because I didn't read the memo.
But definitely tell us what you guys think. If you agree, if you disagree with the rankings, if you would put something else higher. Craig, how can people get in touch with the Front Row Movie Reviews?
Absolutely. You can send us an email at thefrontrowmoviereviews@gmail.com. You can always find us on Facebook and Instagram, The Front Row Movie Reviews. Also find us on Twitter, Front Row Reviews with a Z.
Hashtag bring back the Z.
And we need to say a huge thank you to Killen's Comics.
To Killen's Comics, thank you.
This is fantastic. So it was awesome to be on location. They've got just a ton of stuff. If you like this world, if you like this this comic book atmosphere, they have something in here for you. So come check out all their comic selection, classic toys, DVDs, Funko Pop action figure. I mean, I'm looking around this room and it's like you could spend millions of dollars in here.
You
It's
don't
fantastic.
understand how
I'm sure they
hard
would
it's
love
been
for you to do that
these
as well.
guys
I mean, it's a
to
local place.
focus.
It's a local. It's a great local place. So if you're in the Springfield, Illinois area, definitely check out Killen's Comics. Particularly next Saturday. What do they got going on next Saturday?
Yeah, I believe it's Free Comic Day, right?
Free Comic Day.
Comic Day. You get a free comic. Why
Which
would you
means
not come in?
You
Just
also
walk in the
should
door.
buy like 4 comics.
Yeah.
Don't just walk in. Don't be that
just
guy.
come in and get a free
Yeah,
comic.
come in and buy more, of course, because comic books are amazing. They're art and story in one.
And if you want a recommendation on any comic series to read, just shoot us a message and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, we'll give you something.
Craig's
there.
been very helpful to me
I've been
today.
sitting here as we've been doing the outros, reading through the Steve Rogers Captain America free comic book. Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Good stuff.
Come get it.
All right, yes, come get that one.
There's a picture here of the Falcon with a bomb strapped to his chest. Just
So
saying.
I'm liking that.
Spoiler alert.
Sam Wilson, Captain America, not
Yeah.
the Falcon.
Well, there's
Captain
also
Bucky,
a green
too.
Falcon. I don't know what's going on here. I'm behind the
interesting.
scenes.
behind.
Anyway, we got to wrap this up because I'm about to drop a lot of money in the store. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. As always, Aaron, thank you for coming out and listening to us.
And the spoons as well.
And the spoons as well, yes.
Quinn over there somewhere is a happy 13th birthday to Quinn.
Yes,
He's
happy
shopping.
birthday to
He
him.
actually. Scott wanted to purchase the Infinity Gauntlet mug. and
Mug,
we,
yeah, mug.
we just had a
Did he
purchase
get it?
of that.
He
Yeah,
bought the mug.
Yes,
That mug is
nicely done.
amazing. Look at that. Okay, let's talk about this
So,
mug
it's
for a
pretty
minute.
cool.
Okay, this mug is a mug, obviously, but it's got the Infinity Gauntlet around to where when you hold the mug, it looks like you're drinking coffee with the Infinity Gauntlet on. It is amazing.
Everybody
It's-
should
It looks
say
like
they have about-
It is $17.99. They got 15 million of them here, so come get one.
No,
It's
I would
awesome.
say it looks like they only have about 10, and I think Scott's going to buy 9 of them.
You better get down here quick.
You got to get down here. Also, if you want one of our stickers, we just got those. Make sure to send us a message and we can get one out to you.
Yeah, definitely. So, guys, thank you so much for always listening, for always supporting. We hope you enjoyed this. Go see Captain America Civil War next Thursday with us if you want to. Theater A at 7 o'clock. Non-3D because 3D sucks. Anyway, for the Front Row Movie Reviews, I am Jeremy Geckner.
Scott McFarlane.
Allison Means.
Kevin Cullivan.
And Craig McFarland.
And as always, we will see you in the front row.